and a very good morning. Welcome to Shop on TV. I'm Hayley Green.
I'm Sean Crawley.
And together we've got a fabulous show tonight, a show that really can be, well, quite life-changing, because perhaps there's something you know you should do, but you haven't done just yet. You keep putting it off. You were meant to do it, and that's write a will. And the frightening thing is, if you haven't written a will and written it legally, sadly, there is a will out there for you that you won't want, which is the government will.
There certainly is. We're directly working with Simpler Law tonight, experts in the field when it comes to writing wills, and also lasting powers of attorney we'll be talking about for you. We've got some fantastic offers, and for the first time ever, we've got an extra special discount available.
Yeah, it's an extra 10% off, and it is a one-off show. So what you need to do is actually secure these prices tonight. You have got up until Friday close of business, but we always say do it right now. All you're doing is securing these prices, and these prices are phenomenal. You can see there, if you are thinking about that will and you know you should have written it, I think one of the things we do worry is it's going to be really expensive, and actually even at £209 it's not the price we thought it would be. Our regular price now is £99, but tonight you have got that extra 10% off, so £89 is your price, and you can split that cost over those 4 payments. £22.25 is the first of those 4
But
payments.
these prices are only valid until the close of business on Friday. What we would say to you is do it tonight. Get in touch. We'll talk about that in a moment, how easy it is to get in touch. Lasting power of attorney, a suggested retail price of £349. A usual price with a Shop on TV on our offer, just under £200. But with the extra discount, comes down to £179. That's £44.75 on your first of 4 interest-free payments.
And when you think about what you spend on coffee every week or every month, or what you spend on takeaways, these prices are so affordable. Now, you might decide that actually we need to do the will and lasting power of attorney, so you can secure both of those together. It's your biggest saving here. Should be £558, but you can see there normally £269, but down an extra 10%. It's a one-off 10% off, so you do need to secure these deals. I would say tonight, you have got to close business on Friday, but tonight's the night to do it, and you can see there it goes down to £242, so £60.50 is the first of those 4 interest-free payments. Now, the first 250 clients will receive a fantastic book worth £25. Now, our last show, all of those books completely went, and that is often the case. So that's another reason that you should definitely get onto the phones or get onto the website and secure the prices. And we'll talk you through that book. But let's have a quick look at how to actually get in contact with us, because I do think we're going to have a really busy night. You can either get online with simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, or of course you can jump onto the phones.
You can call on the phone number 0333 600 2600. You can also text the word will to 66777, or you can go to our website and go to the Simpler Law logo, click on there. It takes you through to all those extra special offers we've got, and it's as simple as that to fill in on our website. But again, to remind you of those details, you can either go to Simpler Law's website, you can call on the phone number 0333 600 2600, or you can text the word will to 66777. And we always goes crazy on these nighttime shows with the texting service, doesn't it?
Absolutely. And of course, the team are there until 3 a.m. on the phone lines. But if it is busy, do jump on that text. It's so easy. Your phone's always right there. Just text that word will to 6666777. It's so important to get your will written. We didn't realise we'd been together 34 years, and we just presumed that even though we're not married, everybody knows that. So if one of us passed, everything that, you know, was Sean's was mine, everything that's mine is Sean's. But the fact is, the government will that takes over, if you haven't got a will already in place, sadly, that would not have happened.
No, it's got to be written down in a legally binding document. And like we said, we're working directly with experts in the field when it comes to wills and lasting powers of attorney. And they're joining us once again. Ian and Charlotte join us. Lovely to have your company again.
Morning.
Thank you.
These shows are always so successful. And I think a lot of people, well, everybody needs a will, don't they?
Yeah, and I think people don't realise that if you haven't got a will, there's one in place. Why is it so important that we do a legal will?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, and the reason we've done these shows for as long as we've done them is not a criticism. You can only know what you know, and a lot of people that might be watching this now going, I don't need a will. But if they really think about why they think that, did someone tell them that, or is that just an assumption they've come to, or is that a hope? And unfortunately, the reality is if someone passes away without a will, as you've already said, if you've not taken the time to make your own will, then the government actually give you one. Now, if you think about that for a second, there's millions and millions of adults in the UK, so how can one will fit everybody? And it just doesn't. It's a default position, but sadly, a lot of people aren't even aware this exists. It's something called the rules of intestacy. We call it the government will because effectively that's what it is. So if you don't make your own will, you pass away with a government will, and that's all about your marital status and your bloodline and actually doesn't care about you. So this, and the reason we do these shows, is to give you that control back, because if you make your own will, then your last act on planet Earth is yours. So what you want to happen is then going to happen. It's not enough, unfortunately, to tell your best friend or your wife or your son or your daughter. It has to be in a legally binding document. And I'm going to say it as bluntly as I can, if you don't make your own will, what you think is going to happen or what you hope is going to happen is far from guaranteed and actually very rarely does. And the reason we do these shows is to let people know that, give them the opportunity to do something about it. And that's why we're still doing these shows, because people do take us up on that offer. And it's not expensive, it's not difficult.
That's
really,
one of the biggest things, I think. I think instantly you think it's going to be something that's really expensive, and it truly isn't. Especially tonight, you've got that extra 10% off our normal discounted prices as well, but that is only a special for this one-off show. But the other thing is, I think lots of us just don't realise that there's a government will there that is not right for anybody at all.
No, I was only talking to a gentleman this week who's an industrial paint sprayer, and we were sort of joking, he specialises in doing like ships and things like that. And it was fascinating listening to him. You imagine me trying to do his job tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's a specialist in that, obviously we're specialists in this, so you're not expected to know everything. But what amazes me, even now, and I've been doing this for a quarter of a century, is there's still a lot of people out there who just think they don't need a will. And it's really, really strange how they've come to that conclusion.
It's all those presumptions, isn't it?
Like, you've heard things like common law, husband and wife. You just said yourselves you've been together 34 years. Now, thankfully, you realise that with a government will, actually, that would make no provision for an unmarried partner. No. And sadly, we're sometimes speaking to clients where they haven't made a will, they're expecting to get everything from the partner, and then they find out that actually the government will's made no provision for them whatsoever, and they're getting absolutely nothing. So a will doesn't make a bereavement any easier, but what it definitely does is doesn't make it worse. And more importantly, it's about control. You've worked hard for everything that you've got, and you probably know where you would like it to go. So don't leave it to chance. Do something absolutely amazing for your family, and you take control and make a will.
I think these prices, you can't afford to miss out on.
It's a one-time only offer with an extra special 10% discount across all of the offers that Simpler Law are bringing us, whether it's wills, powers of attorney, or whether you want to go for a combination. So just to let you know, if you want to write a will, the suggested retail price from Simpler Law, experts in the field, is £209. Our offer price on Shop on TV is £99, but tonight with an extra 10% off it's £89, and with 4 interest-free payments £22.25 on your first of 4 payments.
And you probably think it'd be a really expensive thing to write a will, but actually seeing there, especially tonight, it really isn't. And if you think about how much you spend on coffee a week, you really have got a price you can't afford to miss tonight. Lasting power of attorney, and we will go into more detail of what that actually is. That is just as important as your will. Should be £349. We have a discounted price with Shop on TV at £199, but you have got extra 10% off, so £179 is your price tonight, and then splitting that over those 4 payments of £44.75.
The biggest saving of all is if you go for the two together, a will and lasting power of attorney, with a suggested retail of £558. It comes down to £269 on our Shop on TV offer price. However, we've got another 10% off there for you on that one-time only deal, valid until close of business on Friday. Comes down to £242, or £60.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. But we would say get in touch right now. Now, the other thing to mention, on our last show, we always offer 250 of these books, What My Family Should Know. It's basically where you record everything that you want to keep in touch with, the utility bills, insurance policies, but passwords for things like your tablet and your computer and your phone. The first 250 clients who sign up to the offers get that. However, on our last show, the 250 went. So if you do want to get it, please get in early. This is a very early start.
It's a great book to have, and it's just, again, It solves a problem before it happens, because when someone does pass, sadly, you're then hunting for all that information. It's all there in that one book. I always say, well, I used to say you should have one of these books from birth, but that's a bit early. But perhaps from teenage years, from when you start work, because it's vital information that people desperately need.
It certainly is. Easy to get in touch. Let's show you how easy it is to get in touch right now. First of all, you can go to Simpler Law directly, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. That'll ensure you get those extra special deals that we've got available for you. The team are in the call centre right now. They're there right through till 3 a.m, so you can call the team. You don't need any documentation. You don't need to know anything. It's just about securing the offer. 0333 600 2600. However, if they're really busy and they don't pick up, you can always text.
Texting is always one of the most popular, because perhaps you're at home and you don't really want to speak to anybody right now. Perhaps you're going to bed in a bit, or perhaps you're up getting ready to go to work, but you're just not in the mood to chat. All you need to do is text WILL, WILL, to 66777, and honestly, that is the simplest way to secure all these prices. You might not at the moment think, well, I'll just go for the will now, and then perhaps later on in the show you think, oh, I will get the lasting power of attorney as well. As long as you've got in touch and secured those deals, those prices are held for you. And of course, you then can go through our website as well, shopontv.co.uk. Scroll down to about the middle of the page, and there's our banners, and you can see there our Simpler Law. Tick on there, it'll take you through to their website, and then you can see as well, you've got all the information you can type in, and that'll give you the exclusive discount. But you must do this, I would say this morning, the latest by Friday at close of business. But if you want that book, please, they went so quickly, do it tonight, because it's that first step that's sometimes the hardest, and it's that peace of mind when that will's actually written.
Whether it's a will, whether it's a lasting and power of attorney, or whether it's the combination that you can see there on your screen. We are joined by two very good friends of ours now from Simpler Law, experts in the field. Ian and Charlotte are with us once again. Lovely to have your company once again. Ian's just been telling us a little bit about wills, but Charlotte, if you can explain, because I think a lot of people will have heard of lasting powers of attorney, but won't be quite sure what they are, won't they?
Yeah. So lasting powers of attorney, these are documents that allow you to nominate who you trust to make decisions for you if you're unable to yourself. So it could be that you've got ill health, dementia is quite a big one. It could be that you've been in a freak accident. But these documents essentially allow someone to step in your shoes and become you in that scenario and make your decisions for you. So these are documents you should be putting in place now, so that if the worst should happen, they are already there, because once you've lost your capacity, it's too late.
And there's two different kinds, isn't there, of lasting power of attorney?
Yeah, two different kinds. So one is property and financial affairs. So this one covers, as it states really, anything financial. So it means whoever you've nominated, whether that be family, friends, they can access your bank accounts, they can claim pensions, claim your benefits, pay your bills, manage any properties that you have. So it basically keeps everything going for you whilst you're unable to do that for yourself. And then the other document is health and welfare. So just as important, I think this one's more of an emotional side, because again, whoever you trust to step into your shoes can discuss where you're living. So let's say you've chosen a son or daughter, for example, and they want you to live at home with them. They can make that choice for you. If they want you to go, if you need to go into a care home, they can decide which care home that is. Even things like what you're wearing and what you're eating, which...
All those really personal things.
Yeah, so important.
Only your loved ones are going to know that. The people that are closest to you are going to know that. So, again, it's having that control, as we said at the start of the show. It's you putting that choice in place and saying, this is who I want to make this decision for me, and this is what I know is going to happen should life throw me a curveball and I can't make those decisions anymore.
And we actually got in touch with you. We actually did lasting power of attorney for my mum through Simpler Law way before they worked with us here on Shop on TV. We discovered, and I think the only time really you hear about lasting power of attorney is when sometimes it's too late, or you hear it's too late for somebody. And then me and Mum sat down and we were like, we've got to get this sorted. And we came to you for the property and affairs.
Yeah.
And it was so nice because we are the biggest worriers ever, and you just made it all so easy. The people you talk to and your team are just fabulous. They become friends, really, don't they?
Yeah, definitely. And I think a lot of people think it could be quite daunting to go through a topic like
We were really worried.
Yeah, especially when you don't know what to expect as well. But we help, it's a hand-holding service, which we really pride ourselves on, and we'll help you all the way through it from start to finish. All we need you to do is take that first step, and the rest will take care of.
And we don't really need, well, we didn't need really any information. You talked it all out of us, really. You know what you need, and we've got the answers, we just don't know the questions.
Exactly, that's what we're there to do. We're there to ask those questions and get that information. You'll have all the answers, even if you don't think you do.
Yeah.
And it's just having that conversation. You might even actually have a little bit of fun with it. So.
Yeah,
People do put it. Sorry, Sean. People do put off doing it because they think that it might be morbid, or it might be daunting, or it might be complicated.
Yeah.
Some people even think it might be upsetting, and actually, it's quite the opposite.
Yeah.
You know, we plan for lots of things in our lives. We just don't necessarily always plan. We don't always plan for the worst and hope for the best, and we don't always plan for the inevitable. You know, we just want to we do these shows because we want to say we want to make it affordable, which is why we do these deals through Shop on TV. But at the same time, we want to say to people that, look, if you don't do this, the alternative's really, really awful. So bad situations can be made worse. So the cheesy line, but it's absolutely true, is no one ever regrets putting a will in place. No one ever regrets putting a lasting power of attorney in place, but your family might regret that you didn't. So it's a really selfless thing that you're doing, but at the same time, it's quite a cathartic process, and you will definitely get something out of it. You'll get more peace of mind than I think you realise, because you have to go through the process to realise that.
Yeah.
So,
and you hear that all the time.
All the time, that every single client we speak to, it'll be a weight that's lifted at the end, and they'll think, oh gosh, I've done something really good today, I'm really glad I've done that. And you might not even realise it was actually weighing you down until you've had that conversation.
Now, details on the screen have changed once again to the will itself. And we need to get back to this because already it's massively, massively busy. Remember, you have got that extra special discount. It's a one-off discount, an extra 10% off. Brings the price down to £89 to write a will.
And it's
so important.
So easy to get in contact as well. So if you do want to get in contact, these are the ways. Remember, you need to get in touch with Simple Law either by going through the website there, simplelaw.co.uk/shop on TV, jumping on the phones. If you've got a couple of questions, that's fine, but they're there just to get your details, and they'll get back in touch with you then later on when the time's convenient to chat to you about things properly. So that's 0333 600 2600, or you can just text Will to 66777. They're the ways to get in contact, and then Simpler Law will get back in contact with you when a time's suitable. But a will is so important, and I just don't think people realise that if you don't write a legal will, and we'll go into details of the different sort of ways you can try and write a will, but sadly, there is a will in place that we definitely didn't realise that it's like a government will that comes into place if you haven't got a will already.
That's exactly right. And I think, you know, we don't particularly wake up on a Saturday morning and type in a search engine what happens when I pass away. And what I've learned, I think, over the last quarter century of doing this is when people assume that something's going to happen, I realise that that's actually more of a hope now. They just hope that everything will be okay. And sadly, the reality is it very rarely is. So again, that's why we do these shows. We want people to understand that if you don't take the time out to make your own will, the government will give your estate one to deal with after you've passed away. And that's one set of rules to fit everybody.
And it's ancient, isn't it?
It's going to celebrate its 100th year this year.
Don't.
So the rules of intestacy were put in place in 1925 when obviously society was very different. And it's all based around your marital status, it's all based around your bloodline. Well, Charlotte will tell you, for her and her team, it's not unusual now to speak to a couple that are on their second marriage, perhaps. They might have children together. They might have children from previous relationships. Well, it sounds quite melodramatic, but the rules of intestacy, at the point of need when something already terrible's happened, can rip that family apart. So what people hope or think was going to happen doesn't. And then a bad situation's made so much worse.
So what does happen? Say there is a couple, they're on their second marriage, they've got children from different partners, but they now live as a family, so they see themselves as a family.
Yeah, proper family.
So what would happen if one person passed?
The first thing that shocks people is even spouses aren't guaranteed to inherit everything from each other on first death. And forgive the term first death, but when you're talking to a couple, and forgive the finger puppets, but you've always got someone dies first and someone dies second. But let's say that it's under a certain amount where the spouse would inherit from each other. What happens, sadly, more often than you'd like to think, is let's say Mr. passed away first and everything does go to Mrs. But Mr. had a daughter from his previous relationship and Mrs. has a daughter from her previous relationship. But they've lived together for family for years and see themselves as a family unit. They don't see themselves as stepsisters. They don't refer to each other as stepdaughters. But the law doesn't see it that way. So if Mr. passes away first, everything goes to Mrs. But then when Mrs. passes away, under the rules of intestacy, the government will, it's only her daughter that will inherit, and Mr.'s daughter gets nothing at all. And sometimes, and then sometimes people will say, but I'm sure my daughter would look after her stepsister. But I don't know why you'd want to put that amount of pressure and make things really, really difficult when, honestly, if you speak to someone like Charlotte and you can only, if you take that all-important first step, you can only find out how good it is to speak to Charlotte or a member of her team, you'll realise that in a very short space of time and for not a lot of money, you know, it's the equivalent of just over 70p a day to write a will with us at the moment with these offers. We spend money on things that we, you know, you always use coffee. I'm an absolute idiot on coffee. I won't buy coffee from a supermarket unless it's on offer, but I'll stop at a certain coffee chain and happily pay £5 for one. It's like, it's not, you know, so, you know, if you think about what we spend money on, we'll insure things like our boiler, we'll insure our pets, we'll insure our phones, you know, we'll insure lots of things that aren't really that important. And we forget about the main thing, which is us and our family. So this is a really affordable thing to do, but it's incredibly selfless. But actually the hardest thing to do is to send us that text or pick up the phone. Now, I will stop waffling, but what's interesting on the last show, and it's worth mentioning, we had a lot of clients say that the phones got really busy and they struggled to get through.
Right.
So if you're struggling to get through, please keep trying, but if not, just text the word will to 66777, and we will class that as you registered your interest then. So
you've
you'll
locked
get the,
in the offer.
you'll get the free book and you'll get the offer.
Brilliant.
Because the offer is, it's a one-off, it's a one-off for this show, the extra 10% off. We always have incredible deals, but you've got an extra 10% off, but that is only for tonight, this morning. And don't forget as well, another reason to do it right now is we have got 250 of these fabulous books, and these went last show. This is a brilliant book. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
This was actually born out of our estate administration department. So we don't just help our clients today, we're there with them, you know, sometimes the situation changes, so we help change the wills throughout, and we're also available to help at the point of need. So if we're helping people with estate administration, one of the things that your executors have to do, so that's people that you choose to administer your estate, follow the wishes in your will, is you have to gather your estate together. So they have to bring together, you know, find everything. And some really startling statistics came out of our research. It's believed in the UK that there's £5 billion, for example, of unclaimed pension funds.
5 billion.
Wow.
Yeah, but if you think about your parents, some children know exactly the number of jobs their parents had and where they worked, but not everybody does.
No.
And they might have worked somewhere for 5 years and built up a pension pot that's just never been claimed. So there's £5 billion in unclaimed pension pots. It's believed there's £2 billion in unclaimed life insurance policies. So that's a lot of money that should be with family members. And there's about £850 million in UK bank accounts. So all of that waste, if you like, can be avoided just by taking stock.
Because you've got all that information in that one book, just making it so easy for
But
your family.
you made a good point earlier as well. It's not just about your monetary wealth. It's about leaving today. I mean, when I was growing up, we had those old photo albums that were a bit fusty and your photos fell out and went a bit yellow. Now everything's digital.
Yeah.
But if that's password protected, have you given that password to somebody? Have you given your PIN to somebody? And in this case, that's a great place to leave it. You store it with your will, and then no one's going to lose anything.
And when it comes to wills, Charlotte, I think people at home think, oh, well, it's just about money, it's just about my house.
It's about so much more.
So much more, isn't it?
Yeah. It's not just about where you want things to go. It could be, you could put specific gifts into your will. So it could be that you've got a family heirloom or a particular item of jewellery that you want to go to, a daughter or a niece. But even what age children inherit is a really big one for a lot of clients.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah, so legally, children inherit at the age of 18, but for most clients that we speak to, they actually increase that to 21. We've all been 18.
I was a very sensible 18.
Of course, I can believe that.
You were the exception.
Yeah.
So you could change that age to 21, or could you give them amount at 18 and then 21 and then 25? Or...
Yeah, definitely. This is the conversation we'll have with clients, and you know your children or better than anybody. So it's what works best for you. And again, it's about making the right choice for you and having that control of when and where your estate goes. So like I say, clients will choose a lot of the time 21, 23, sometimes older. Depends on the children's circumstances at the time, but that's all something we talk about as we go through. But even executors of your will is another choice you can make.
For anyone at home who doesn't understand what is an executor on your will?
Yeah, so an executor, these are the people that essentially are in charge of administering your estate. So they go through what's called probate and distribute your assets as per the instructions in your will. Okay. So you have the choice of whether you'd like to have what we call a lay executor, so an unprofessional family, friend, whoever you choose again, or you can also appoint a professional like ourselves. You'd rather take that burden off of your family and friends. Again, it's something we discuss, but it's about you making the choice that's right for you.
Yeah.
So it's all something we'll go through, but a will does so much more than just distribute.
Well, we talk about pets on shows. don't we?
Yeah.
Pets more
is-
important than children sometimes. Yeah, pets.
Clients are going, look, I've dealt with my kids now, right? Let's talk about the dogs.
Yeah,
Yes.
But
all
it's-
the time.
So where they want the dog to go to, or
But the
Yeah.
whole point of this conversation, and I'm hoping this comes across, is when you make your will, and Charlotte's already said this, we've got all the questions, you've got all the answers.
Yeah,
So at the end of
that's
it, you get your will. Obviously, every single document that we write is unique because your situation is unique. There's only one of you, there's only one of your family, and it's your estate. That's why the rules of intestacy in the government will doesn't work, because it's just a default position that just says, well, let's ask about the marital status, let's see what children they've got, and let's just split everything equally. And when we speak to our clients, we've got over 200,000 clients. We've never, ever written a will that's anywhere near the rules of intestacy, because the rules of intestacy doesn't choose executors. It doesn't care about you. It doesn't care about your family. It doesn't know about you. But if you think about it logically, we live in a land of law, so there has to be a backstop. And there is no sort of grey area. You either pass away and you've got your own will, so you've taken control, or you pass away without making a will, and therefore, either voluntarily or involuntarily, you've accepted the government will. So if you're listening to me waffle on tonight, the reason I'm passionate about it is we see both sides of that coin.
Yeah, we do.
what you also see as well, because some people might be at home and thinking, well, I was going to do one of them templates.
Yeah.
You know, well, I was going to get it from the, you know, off the internet, and which you pay for, but you can do that very wrong, can't you? Why should you get a, you know, really do your will with a company like Simpler Law rather than a template?
Well, I could say you get the opportunity to speak to Charlotte, and that
Yes.
should be enough.
I mean, that is it, really.
In fact, should we just leave it at that?
Phone lines have gone mad.
I don't want to sound arrogant, but obviously someone like Charlotte is trained and experienced and knows exactly what she's doing. And this is all we do. We only provide private client legal services, and we specialise in wills and estate planning. So you don't come to us for a divorce or a boundary dispute or a personal injury claim. This is the only part of the law that we work in. So we're specialists in this area. So we know everything there is to know about it. We're that confident that we carry something called professional indemnity insurance, which covers our clients for up to £5 million. If we make a mistake in the advice that we give you, and that results in a loss to you or your family, you're insured for £5 million. Touch wood, we've never had a claim, we've never had a will fail, because this is all we do. We're professionals. Unless you're a qualified will writer, I do not know why you would try and write your own will. You know what's really interesting at the moment, I don't want to get too political, but there's a lot of grabbing going on of our wealth. Anyone that's got anything.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, you know, taxation's changed, legislation has changed very recently and quite aggressively over recent years. So even if you've made a will, it's worth reviewing that, because are you making use of all those allowances? And again, that's something that Charlotte and her team can talk you through and
So
make
even
sure
if
that
you've
you
got
are.
a will already, but you are thinking all
Yeah.
these changes are going on, perhaps we need to
Yeah.
look at it again.
And so it's a long-winded answer to your question, Hayley, but unless you understand all the taxation rules around inheritance tax and what you can claim, what your allowances are, unless you understand the difference between first death and second death, and I might be making this sound complicated, but I promise you, Charlotte and her team don't make it complicated at all. Yeah. But the point I'm making is, please don't risk making your own will, because A, you still have to buy one of those templates. It won't give you any advice, and if you get it wrong, there's no one you can turn to and say it was their fault.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's heartbreaking when we see one of these templates where it's gone wrong, because it's clear what the client's intention was, and they've even gone to the effort of trying to make it, and then it's failed because it's not signed, dated and witnessed correctly, or they've not understood something.
Wasn't
the way
there a
it's written.
story about a gentleman, wasn't it, an older couple?
Yeah.
And they died, but
Oh, yes.
and they'd written their own will, but because they hadn't written it correctly, it went horribly
It was
wrong,
what
didn't
you
it?
called
With
about
grandchildren and
first
things.
death and second death.
That's exactly right.
grandchildren gifts,
Yeah. It taken a template that basically says, who do you want to do this? So he just followed the template through, and it asked if he wanted to leave any gifts. And he stated that he wanted £20,000 to go to each of his grandchildren. What the will didn't help differentiate is when that gift is made. Now, when you're talking to a couple, and again, forgive the finger puppets, quite often most couples want to look after each other first, so they'd leave everything to each other on first death. So whoever passed away first, everything will go to the survivor. And then typically cash gifts would then come out of the estate when A, there's enough cash in the estate, because usually Sometimes houses have to be sold to do that.
Yeah.
This gentleman wrote his own will. It turned out he was the sole owner of the property, even though he'd been married for decades. So his wife didn't own the house. And the cash gift that he put £20,000 to each grandchildren, he'd written it so it was due from the estate when he died. And when he died, he'd got 8 grandchildren as opposed to the 3 they got. So suddenly £160,000 in cash gifts needs to come out of the will. Now, it's clear that wasn't his intention, but that's the will that he drafted. So now there's a real problem for the estate because effectively, technically, the house has to be sold to pay the cash gifts because he's not left it all to his wife. So it made things really complicated and difficult. We helped them sort it out, but it sounds selfish to say there's a frustration, but you're thinking, we could have fixed that in 5 minutes for you and done it correctly.
And the great thing is so affordably. Because I think a lot of us do think, if you're like me, I'm the biggest worrier. You think it's really complicated. You know, if there's a... And I was going to say a fire alarm going off. If there's a policeman behind us. Well, yeah, possibly. Whatever's going on. I'm guilty. I'm like, you know, if there's a police car behind with the lights flashing, I'm like, it was me. And I know I haven't done anything. So I think when you go to law, you do think it's going to be complicated. You're worried you're going to ask the wrong questions. It's so simple because the team at Simple Law make it so easy. They chat through everything. That you don't need to know the answers. They actually, they know the questions. And as you chat, they'll get the answers from you.
And it's a hand-holding process, Charlotte always calls it.
And you think it would be really expensive as well, and it honestly isn't. So it's not frightening. It's so affordable, but it's extra affordable tonight.
Yeah, even at the full prices, you're getting such a great service from experts in the field. But tonight we've got an extra special discount. Ian was saying it's a one-off, and we won't get this discount again. So suggested retail price when it comes to the will itself of £209. I think that's brilliant. However, our shop on TV offer price is normally £99, but we've got 10% off that for you, but only until close of business Friday. It comes down to £89, but what we would say, get in touch tonight. You don't need any documents, you don't need any information, you're just securing the deal. And if you want to spread the cost interest-free, £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments.
And that could be your last gift to your loved ones, and it's cost you probably less than what you spend on coffee in a month. Honestly, it's phenomenal value for money, and it is that peace of mind that what you want to happen is going to happen, because it's not unless you have a legally binding will. Now, we've got lasting power of attorney. We'll go into a bit more detail about that again. £349 is the regular price. It's got our regular discounted price for our shows, £199, but as a complete one-off show, you've got an extra 10% off, so £179. But again, split that cost, interest-free, 4 payments of £44.75. And I know when we have a takeaway, it's £50 a time. So again, it's so affordable. But you might decide, I mean, you might not know right now, but you might decide, well, actually, I'd rather do the will and lasting power of attorney. We've got the biggest save in there.
Yeah, it should be a suggested retail price of £558. Again, our shop on TV offer at £269 is brilliant, but with the 10% off, at the moment, it's £242, or if you use the interest-free payments, it's just £60.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. Don't forget, if you're in time, the first 250 clients will also receive that fantastic book, What My Family Should Know. It's about registering and securing everything in one place, from things like utility bills and providers, to insurance policies, to passwords for computers, home security.
It's for your family, you know, when you do pass, they're hunting for this information, and usually we'd be looking for all the secret cubby holes and, you know, the box that they've put. I know my mum's got so many secret places, but the great thing is it's all in one place. But one of the biggest things is actually passwords for your tablets and your phones, and that could be just the fact that you've got so many memories on there, so many photographs, and if you haven't got the password, you can't get on it. But actually, a family member, if the grandchild hadn't known the password to his granddad's iPad, there was lots of vital emails that they would never have been able to get hold of because nobody could get onto the tablet to find them.
So all really
important information. And last time those books disappeared very quickly, so do grab them and just get in touch. All you're doing is securing the prices tonight. You don't need to know the answers to any questions. You just need to know that you want to take that first step and get that will done and sorted, and that weight off your shoulders and that peace of mind that what you want to happen is going to happen. And there's so many ways to get in touch. So however you're feeling this morning, you can either jump onto the website.
Yeah, really simple and straightforward. simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV gets you those exclusive offers. Remember, those exclusive offers, one time only, an extra 10% off, only valid until close of business on Friday, but do it right now. Set the ball in motion, take that first step. If you want to call, the team are in the call centre, 0333 600 2600. They're there right through till 3 a.m. But at this time of night, when we start this early, they might be busy on the phone.
Yeah,
So
they
if
were
you-
busy last time,
yeah,
weren't they?
If you can't get through, you can text.
They'll try and get to you as soon as they possibly can, but if you could just text, that will solve the problem. You secured the deal by just texting, and I bet your phone's sat right there. Just put will and text it to 66777, and you've secured those prices. Now, you might be thinking at the minute, well, I'll just do my will, but when we go into detail with lasting power of attorney, you might then think, oh, actually, perhaps we should do both, because lasting power of attorney is just as important as my will. As long as you've secured the deals, I know that they'll go along with whatever you decide that you want to do. So all you need to do is get in touch tonight. We say tonight, though, you can do it until close of business on Friday, but if you want that book, and I think sometimes we forget as well, before you know it, it'll be Saturday and you've missed out on the deal again.
Or you put it off, don't you? It's not a case of putting it off or forgetting it. It's about taking that first step right now whilst you've got those deals on offer. And once you've taken that first step, the process has begun then, hasn't it?
My mum's been getting the patio done for the last 3 years, and we've never rung, we've never got in contact with anyone. You know, we've got to get that patio done. We must get it done before the winter, and then all of a sudden it's spring, and then it's summer, and we must get it done before the winter, and then it's the next year. We do put things off terribly. We've actually got the man coming in a couple of weeks.
Hey.
Oh my word! And it's
Even
that.
I'm excited.
I know, yeah.
I'm dead
It's
worried
only
about your
taken
mum.
about 4 years.
You
Probably
keep
in
saying my
total.
mum's going to have a fall. I'm like,
It is. It's so dangerous out there. But we do. We put things off. We
look,
forget.
there's much more interesting things that you can do with your time and your money. That's the perception of it. I think until you've spoken to someone like Charlotte or a member of her team, you won't realise actually how important, how good this is.
Yeah.
But the difficult thing is taking that all-important first step. That genuinely is the hardest thing. Now, I've waffled a bit tonight already, which is what I usually do, and I might have used some technical terms, but I assure you that Charlotte and her team, they make it really, really straightforward
Really
and
So
simple.
simple.
Yeah.
And with that confident in what we do, that if you're not happy with the advice that we've given you, and you're not happy with the instruction, at any point if you're not happy, just turn around and say, I'll have my money back, and we'll give you your money back. It's as simple as that.
Fabulous.
If you're not 100% happy with everything we've done, we'll just give you your money back. So
You've
there's-
got nothing to risk then tonight at all.
there is no risk, and this is going to sound kind of cold, and I don't mean it to, but if you're listening to me now, it's not my family. I've not worked hard for what you've got. You've done that. So all we can do is help you make sure, but it doesn't matter to us because we're not going to lose anything if you don't contact us, but you might. And honestly, this could be the best half an hour that you ever spend talking to someone like Charlotte. I've been a nightmare for doing things like, I haven't got time to go to the gym. You know, my body's falling to pieces, but I haven't got time to go to the gym. And then I find myself scrolling on my phone for half an hour.
Yeah.
I've got no time to go
Got
to the
time for
gym.
that, yeah.
You know, I know I can't possibly make time to make a will, but I've got time to sit down and make a coffee and watch the
Yeah, put your feet up.
program on.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying is you think that you might not have time, or you think this might be complicated, or you think it might be morbid. I assure you, it's none of those things. So whatever you think it might be, because interestingly, we often hear, my situation is going to be quite complicated.
Yeah.
And actually for us, again, without sounding arrogant, it's relatively straightforward. And then other times we panic if a client says, oh, you'll like me because ours is quite simple. It's like, okay, let's strap in. How different is this one going to be? But there isn't a scenario that we've come across where we can't help a client. So don't let your own reservations or concerns put you off. If we can't help you, we'll tell you. But to date, there's been no one that we've had to say, I'm sorry, we can't help you.
And the truth is, this is what you specialise
Yeah.
in. You
All
don't
we
do
do.
divorces or anything like that. Everything you specialise in is to do with wills, lasting power of attorneys.
Yeah.
It's estate planning, isn't it?
It all starts, the heart of it is with the will, but because of the size of the company that we are and the group of companies that we're in, we can basically provide a full range of private client legal services, which is why we can meet all of our clients' needs. So whatever you need, we can deliver. Now, why that's important to a client is we control the quality of our work, and we also ensure that it's got to you in a timely manner. Because when you make this decision, what we want to do is make sure you're happy. But you will speak to someone like Charlotte. Throughout the process, we'll give you all the relevant advice. It's entirely up to you what you do with that advice. You can take all of it, some of it, absolutely none of it. But at the end of it, what you're absolutely guaranteed to get is your will.
Yeah.
It's unique,
What
it's
you want.
bespoke, and it's yours.
Yeah.
And the one thing that you won't be able to say if you're watching the show tonight is you won't be able to say that I didn't know there was a government will.
Yeah.
A lot of people that we speak to when someone's passed away and then it does go wrong, no one was aware of the rules of intestacy or a government will. But the reason we're doing this show is saying, listen, if you don't make your own will, you are making a second decision. There isn't just one decision happening. If you decide not to text or not pick up that phone, you're saying, that's okay, then I'll have the government will. Please don't make that decision.
I think lots of people don't realise that. So if you're at home right now and you haven't got a will and you think, well, I haven't got a will, I must do one. Just remember, if you haven't got a will, you actually have, and that's what you're seeing on your screen, which is the government will, which doesn't work for anybody, does it? It's 100 years old.
It's not personal, it's a default position. I understand, you know, there has to be a position, otherwise it'd be anarchy, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah.
And again, unfortunately, you know, there's a lot of people who think, well, I've told my son or I've told my daughter, or they'll say, everybody knows what I want to happen, but that's not a legally binding document. So it's really, really straightforward. If you pass away, you've either passed away with your will, so you've taken control and your last act on planet Earth, your last gift to your family, I like the Hayley, your last act on planet Earth is yours, it's your will, so your wishes are going to be carried out. Or the government say, okay, you didn't make a will, so you fall into the default position, so we'll give you one, which is called the rules of intestacy.
And that's you deciding where perhaps your jewellery, I know who your jewellery goes to, or perhaps it's who you don't want to have things, or perhaps it's your pets, or you know,
your children.
the children.
It could be,
yeah.
in fact,
If
you
something
appoint
happened
a
to
guardian.
both of you,
Yeah.
It's so important to have a will, and it's so affordable. That price on your screen, it's a one-off price. You've got an extra 10% off, but please grab it whilst it's available.
And there's all the offers. We've talked a lot about wills. We are now going to talk about lasting powers of attorney for you. Everything, all the deals, all the offers coming with an extra 10% off. And remember, if you're one of the first 250 clients, you will receive that book, which is brilliant for estate planning for yourself. Now, we are going to go into more detail of lasting powers of attorney. You can see the offer there is brilliant. You're getting that extra 10% off our usual price, an already discounted price. But do it right now.
Yeah, you need to just secure the price. You don't need to know any answers
you
to
don't
any
need any
questions.
information.
Just secure the deals, and then the team will get back in touch with you when the time's convenient for you. So just make sure you either get onto the website, get onto the phone, or text Will. That's all you do. Text Will, WILL, to 66777. So there's all you is. Take a quick photo of that, and that's how to get in contact. But you must please do it tonight. You'll forget. You have got up until Friday for the actual prices, but I think you'll forget. It'll be Sunday, and you'll think, oh God, I didn't do it. Get it done. It's sometimes we just need to spring clean, don't we? We just need to get rid of clutter, and we keep putting it off. But when you've done it, it's just heaven, isn't it? Yeah, absolutely. And this is you getting rid of that, you know, making sure you've got it done, and then you can just relax because it's so easy. Now, lasting power of attorney, we actually dealt with a shop on TV before Simpler Law came to Shop on TV. We went to Simpler Law for lasting power of attorney for my mum.
Yep.
And me and Mum are the biggest worriers, but my goodness, Charlotte, your team made it so simple. It's just like sitting down like we are tonight and just having a simple... We didn't really need to know any information.
No, you don't need anything with you.
And you never once made me feel that I couldn't ask a question. I always think I'll ask the daftest questions, or I shouldn't ask that. I shouldn't have asked that. But I could ask you anything. It was just so simple.
Yeah, absolutely. We want you to understand the advice that we're giving you. We want you to be happy with the document because it's yours. So we won't produce a document for you until you're 100% happy with it. But yeah, we do really pride ourselves because we do have 5-star Trustpilot reviews, and they're named Trustpilots as well. So they aren't just saying Simpler Law was amazing, they're saying Jack was amazing, or
so true.
Megan was amazing. So we are really proud of that because it is a really personal experience.
It certainly is.
You become friends.
It's a really scary situation for people if it's the unknown, isn't it?
But Charlotte and her team also know, even though they do this every single day, which is why they're so good at it, they know that the person they're speaking to, this might be the first time they've done it, might be the only time that they do it.
Of course.
So we're not patronising, we're not condescending, but, and I like what you say, in a non-condescending way, we do hold your hand through the whole process because we appreciate that you might never have done this before.
Yeah.
You know, for some people, it's over in a click and they know everything they want, and some people it takes a little bit longer.
Yeah.
Again, this is your document, it's your consultation. This is about you, not about us. But Charlotte and the team can only help you if you text us tonight.
Now, we are going to go in more into detail with lasting powers of attorney, because I think a will is something that everybody's heard of and everybody knows that they're going to use it.
Yeah.
But a lasting power of attorney is a little bit different, isn't it?
It is, yes. This is a document you hope you'll never need to use, but you put it in place now should the worst happen, and you essentially lose your capacity. So if you can't make decisions for yourself any longer. So you do need to put powers of attorney in place before you lose capacity, because once you have, it is too late, which we'll go into as well.
And could that be sort of if you fall poorly or you've been in a freak accident?
Yeah, it could be ill health, like I say, accident, anything where you can't make decisions for yourself.
Now, what we're seeing on screen, there's two different types of power of attorney. There's health and welfare, but there's also financial we'll start with, shall we?
Yes, yeah. So financial, I think this is one that a lot of people can relate to.
This is what we came to you for.
Yeah, money doesn't stop. You know, if you lose your capacity, things don't stop running. Bills still need to be paid.
Yeah.
So
And even though I thought I would still be able to do that for Mum, because I look after Mum now, that's not the case at all.
it's that
is it?
assumption, isn't it? I think you've got to be realistic and think right now. If you walked into someone's bank, let's say you walked into your mum's bank, the first thing they're going to say is, "Are you the account holder?" They're going to do data protection, and you're not going to be able to.
Isn't it?
Exactly, yeah. With any company really. So if someone's lost capacity, if anything, you're more vulnerable. So they're going to be even more protected. Absolutely. So I think again, it's that hope you mentioned previously, of people just like to hope they're never going to be in that situation.
okay.
Yeah, and it's
It won't be me.
It's
it'll be
human nature. I think it is human nature, but again, and it sounds patronising to say think about it logically, but deep down you know that you can't go and access someone else's account right now, and yet why would that change if that person lost capacity? Like Charlotte just said, it's actually they're now vulnerable, so they're even more protected. And it's at that point that they hoped was never going to happen, that they wish they'd have done something about it. And that's the worst phone calls we get to the office, and sadly we call them the too late phone calls, is someone will phone up and said, "You did wills and lasting powers of attorney for us. My dad's just been diagnosed with dementia. Can you do powers of..." And it's like Charlotte just said, you can only make these documents when you've got mental capacity. So you make them, and then you touch wood and hope you never need to use them. That's the reality of it. I call them the what-if document.
yeah, I do like when you say that. And
So
once you've
it's
done
not
them,
an insurance as such, but
It can be
in a
thought of in
way.
a similar way. They're not insurance policies,
Yeah.
but absolutely, and I kind of made light of it earlier, but we do insure things that aren't that important in the big scheme of things. They're not as important as us, but we'll pay for our boiler. You know, we'll definitely insure our pets.
yeah.
My mum's been insuring a dishwasher for about 3 years, and we could have bought about 4 dishwashers, and she only uses it once a week. So
massive.
but we do,
It's nearly
don't
as
we?
big as the
think
kitchen.
it's the family dishwasher. So we've stopped that and cancelled that. But I think we do, and we don't even think about it. No. Whereas actually, this is so important.
It is. I think unless you've actually been in a situation where someone you know is going through that, you probably wouldn't even think about these documents, but they're so important.
So what can you do if you've got the document in place?
Yeah, so sorry, got distracted there. So the financial...
That was my fault.
No. So the financial document, Property and Financial Affairs it's called. So you can nominate who you trust, whether that be family, friends, can be one person or multiple people, to step into your shoes and become you. So they can go to your bank, they can pay your bills, they can claim pensions,
all those
claim
things
benefits.
doing,
These things need to keep going.
They more or less become you in a financial way.
Yeah,
So
they
can
do.
take control of all those financial issues.
Yeah, on the power of attorney, you're actually called the donor. So you're actually donating your power to your attorney. So they're essentially just becoming you in that scenario and acting as you would.
Now, this is the second option that we're talking about, because there are two. So we've talked about financial. Health and welfare is a little bit different, isn't it?
Yeah, so this is more of an emotional side. Financial, everyone can relate to. You know, things don't stop. Health and welfare is just as important, because essentially the same people can step into your shoes again and decide where you're living. So if it's a family member that wants you to live at home with them, they can make that choice. If you need to go into a care home, they can decide which care home that is. They can also discuss things like what you're wearing, what you're eating, which might sound really small, but they're really personal, really big things. Yeah, if you're a vegetarian.
Yeah.
My best friend was in a terrible accident and is still in a care home now, sort of 10 years later. And it's so important. She's vegetarian. She knows what she likes to wear.
Yes.
And it's so important that those things are still in place.
Yeah, it makes you you.
Yeah,
and only your loved
absolutely.
ones are going to know that. It could even be a shade of lipstick you like to wear every day.
Yeah.
But if that's important
You know me
to
so
you,
well, Charlotte.
No, but,
but if that's important to you, then why not give your loved ones? They're going to want to be able to do that for you. Most of the time, if it was one of our family members, we're going to want to be able to take care of them. So without that power of attorney, they can't do that.
wasn't there a story about a nurse, and
Yeah.
she took her mum out of her home for it was Christmas, wasn't it?
Sadly, there's hundreds. You
There
don't have to
is,
you don't have
yeah.
to search very long to find these and it's always with the best intention.
Yeah.
Daughter's best intention for a mum. But if you think about it, what power do you have over your own mother? And unfortunately, a mum needed to go into care, and she thought, we're going to bring mum home for Christmas Day. So she went and got her out of the care home. Didn't have the permission or the authority to do it, so the care home reported her as kidnapped, because for all intents and purposes she was. So it's sort of an overreaction, but then the police caught up with them in Sainsbury's car park, I think it was.
Bless.
But that's not a one-off.
No.
No.
And it's like you said about everyone who knows you and knows your mum knows that you're
Well, yeah.
going to look after your mum. But if you haven't got the legal authority to do that, if at some point your mum did lose capacity, even though everyone around you knows that you're the right person for that, none of the institutions are going to go, oh, it's okay, Hayley, we know you, we'll let you do it.
Yeah.
It's just, and that's what people hope is going to happen.
Yeah.
So again, this is one of those documents that it doesn't make the bad thing any easier, but it certainly doesn't make it worse. So if life did throw someone a curveball, if they haven't got lasting power of attorney, the person that's caring for you, that loves you, wants to do right by you, is then having to faff about with court processes and all kinds of other
Yeah.
stuff,
should
which we'll
Cover
get
that,
to.
shouldn't we?
Well,
because that if you haven't got it in place, the lasting powers of attorney, that
I
process.
misspoke when I said faff. it's much more than a faff about.
It is,
The point I'm
yeah.
making is, instead of devoting time to somebody that's going through a difficult time, you're having to devote your time to a legal process.
To the process, yeah.
And it's all avoidable just by having a lasting power of
So if you
attorney.
haven't got lasting power of attorney and you want to take over, look after someone's monetary affairs or their
or the
welfare,
health and well-being.
what happens? If I didn't have it for mum and my mum was now poorly, what would I have to do to be able to be in control of that?
Well, first of all, we don't know that it will be you. We do because you're telling us. The first thing to realise is it might not be the person you would have chosen for yourself that actually applies for what's called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. So you might be in a situation where you have a good relationship with your daughter, not a great relationship with your son, for example. But if you lose capacity, it wouldn't
They
prevent
could
your
step
son from stepping forward and saying, I want to look after mum or look after dad, even though that might not be what you want.
And these are the
So-
costs we're seeing. I mean, before we take the emotion into account and the people, this is the cost.
So
isn't
if
it?
someone does step forward to apply for what's called a deputyship order, because the person who was incapacitated didn't have a lasting power of attorney, you can see the fees on the screen there. It's £408 just to apply to the court.
Gosh.
And it's worth stressing these fees are if you do this yourself and don't seek any professional help. And these are legal documents and they're horrible.
hefty.
Yeah.
The assessment fee is to make sure that you're the right person for this role. If the court asks for a hearing, that's another £494. And then if you are granted the deputyship order, the court supervise you on how that money's used, and they charge a supervision fee, which is then an ongoing fee as well, which starts at £320. So as you can see there, it's just over £1,300
That
just
you've
to apply,
got to find.
that you've got to find, and you've got to pay it to the court. But truthfully, the more devastating thing, and I'm not dismissing the cost of it because that's horrific, especially when you compare it to how inexpensive it can be to put a lasting power of attorney in place. With a lasting power of attorney, the important thing is to get it signed, dated, witnessed correctly in the right order. And again, that's what we help you do. Yeah. That's the important thing. Before it can be used, it has to be registered with a body called the Office of Public Guardian. But once it's registered, basically your attorney step into your shoes and just look after you, because that's what you said they wanted to happen. With the Court of Protection, not only does it cost all that money, but it's actually taking up to a year for these orders to be granted, because there's a backlog at the courts.
So that person that you wanted to look after and you wanted to sort out and wanted to be in control of their health and well-being, they could have died then before it's actually sorted. And all that time you'd rather have been sat with them in the hospital. You've been trying to sort it out.
You're basically trying to prove to an external body who's there to protect the vulnerable person that you're the right person. So your energy is going in the wrong direction. Your energy should be to your loved one. And that's why lasting powers of attorney is so important. I'll stress again, you want to have them and hope you never need to use them. And I'm going to use my cheesy line again because it's correct. No one ever regrets putting a lasting power of attorney in place. Because if you never needed to use it, great, that meant there was no issue.
Yeah.
But your family might regret it if you didn't and life threw you that curveball. Now, bad stuff's always going to happen to somebody else. That's human nature. It's always going to happen to someone else. My wife and I have got these documents and have had them for 18 years now. They're with our company, ready to be registered, and we don't think about it. I mention it when we do things like this. It'd be quite ironic if I sat here going, oh, we've not bothered, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen to us.
Yeah.
But of course, we've got those in place, hoping that life doesn't throw us that curveball, but we're also got that peace of mind that if it did, we know we've got the right people in place that would step in and look after us, but also, you know, look after the children. There's all that kind of stuff built into everything that we've done. So we've planned for the worst, but hope for the best. And then you just move on.
That's it. Once you've done it, it's just the biggest weight off your shoulders.
It really is.
And then you just forget about it. You know it's there if you need it.
It's an awful thing to say, but if you had a crystal ball, and none of us do, but if you had that crystal ball and you saw that curveball coming and saw how difficult it was for your family to help you, and you realise that, actually, if I just spent half an hour talking to Charlotte, I could have saved all that heartache and all that cost and all that weight, you probably wouldn't hesitate. So that's the planning for the worst bit. It's a gamble either way, but there's a good gamble, because the worst that happens, you didn't need to use your lasting power of attorney. The bad gamble is someone close to you is going, why didn't we have a lasting power of attorney? Yeah.
I think so often you just don't hear of lasting power of attorney. We only knew because of your mum, really. I think sometimes you just learn about it too late, and then it is too late, and it's absolutely devastating. You're already going through a terrible time, and all you want to do is look after your loved one, but it's completely taken out of your hands, even though, like I keep saying, you know, everybody would know I would want to look after mum, that I'd look after her affairs, you know, but legally that will not happen. You've got lasting power of attorney, and you can actually, because we've spoken about wills and lasting power of attorney, you can actually put the two together as well, can't you?
The combination is the biggest saving of the show. Everything that we're showing you comes with that extra discount on the show today, an extra 10% discount, but only until close of business on Friday. But what we would say is get it done right now. Get it done right now, and you'll also, if you're one of the first 250 clients, receive that free What My Family Should Know book. So the biggest saving of all is what you can see on the screen right now. The suggested retail price for the will and lasting power of attorney of £558 comes down to £269 on our normal offer, but you're actually getting another 10% off there. So £242 or £60.50 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. Those interest-free payments are available on the will individually and the lasting power of attorney, that you can see that. In fact,
it's so affordable, isn't it?
We should remind you of the will itself.
You might just be wanting to do your will tonight, or you might change your mind. Just secure the prices today. And if you think, well, actually, yes, we need to get that will done, look at your price tonight, £89. Now, this is a complete one-off show where you've got this extra 10% off. So you can see we always do a great discount, normally £209. £99 is our regular shop on TV price, but you have got that extra 10% off. So when you split that over 4 payments, £22.25, that's the first of 4 payments. It's so affordable. And if you think what you spend right now on coffees and things like that, or takeaways, this is so important. If you don't write a legal will, what you want to happen, honestly, hand on heart, it's not going to happen. There's a government will that takes over, and that will not be what you want to happen to what you've worked so hard for all your life. Lasting power of attorney we've spoken about. Now, we gave you the price for the will and lasting power of attorney, but you can do the lasting power of attorney on its own as well.
Individually, it would have been £349. Our offer price at £199 is brilliant, but we've got another 10% off that as well for you on this show as a one-off. £179 is the price, or £44.75 on your first of 4 interest-free.
But if you do decide right now, you're thinking, I'm just going to get the will done, I'll just do the will. But then as the show goes on, you think, oh, I wish I'd said I'd do the will and lasting power of attorney. I know the team are amazing, and they will. You're securing the prices if you get in contact tonight. And if you are lucky enough to be one of the first 250 clients, all these went the last show, we've got an amazing book that you'll receive worth £25, What My Family Should Know. We'll tell you a little bit about that in a moment. But this is how you get in contact, because so important before you go to bed, if you're up and you're going to bed shortly, do this right now. This is that first step to getting that will sorted. And you won't believe what peace of mind it is.
simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV gets you those exclusive offers that we were talking about. The team are in the call centre, the team that Charlotte works alongside, 0333 600 2600. And you can phone right through till 3 a.m. In fact, we've got a review about Charlotte.
Yes.
What a wonderful service was offered.
Last time the phone lines were really busy. They will get to you as soon as they possibly can, but jump onto that phone right now. The team are there and they are fabulous. Great to have a quick chat to. And again, all they need is your name and they'll sort out a time to get in contact with you later on. Or you can actually, if you're thinking, well, actually, I don't really want to talk to anybody right now. Sean and I spend our lives talking, and so often you think, oh, my goodness, I don't want to chat to anyone right now. Just text Will to 66777. I do all the competitions like that. It's so easy, it's done. And though this isn't a competition, you are going to be a winner because you've taken that first step to make sure what you want to happen for all your loved ones, for what you've worked so hard for, actually does happen.
Yeah, but it's for you, isn't it? Because it is what you want to happen, but then it is for everybody else.
It's your final gift to your loved ones, and it's that peace of mind that families aren't falling out because what they know you wanted to happen isn't actually happening because the government will doesn't allow you. It's not individual to you, and this will be. Now, do remember, if you usually go through our website, you can still do that.
Yep, shopontv.co.uk, scroll down to our on-screen partners, and then click on Simpler Law. It clicks you straight through to the special offers and the extra 10% off. Really straightforward, just the details on the side there, and then submit it and make sure you've put that wheel in motion.
Yeah.
You've taken that first step.
You've secured the prices.
If you've thought about wills or lasting powers of attorney, and you've thought about it lots of times, but you've just thought about it.
Yeah.
You've never done it.
We put it off for years and years and years.
I just think we never got round to it.
There's too many things happening, isn't there? All of a sudden
so
it'll be spring, then you'll be booking your summer holiday, then all of a sudden Christmas is on its way, and then you're into the next year and you still haven't done it, and you don't know what's around the corner. It's so important to get that will in place because we presumed, and you do, I think we all presume, whatever situation you're in, whether you're married for the first time with children, whether you've remarried and you've got children from different families, whether you're unmarried like us, but we've been together 34 years, obviously our family know that everything that's mine is Sean's, everything that's Sean's is mine. But actually, had we not written our will and one of us had passed, that isn't what would have happened at all. And it's quite frightening that all of a sudden everything's completely out of your hands, because if you haven't written your own will, there is a government will out there that's already written for you, which is 100 years old.
And we'll get the team to explain as we go through. There it is. It's a series of yes/no questions that doesn't really work for anyone. Like you said, it's 100 years old this year. But we'll explain that in more detail for you in a couple of moments. Now, a will is so important. And let's go right back to basics, Ian, if we can. What is a will and why do we all need one?
So the will is your last act on planet Earth. And I think you made a good point there, that image that was on the screen, the rules of intestacy, there's nothing personal about that at all. It's a default position. The rules of intestacy were put in legislation in 1925, so they're celebrating their 100th year. Celebrate's perhaps the wrong word.
So life was very different back then to now, wasn't it?
Absolutely. So the sort of throwaway comment is it sort of did a job because something has to do a job. They've tried to reform it over the last century, but of course, you know, society's got more complicated, not simpler. And so they've kind of left it exactly as it is. But if you think about it logically, there has to be a default position if you don't make your own will. And that's why we do these shows. So as Sean asked, what's a will? Most people think it's just a piece of paper where you write, this is where I want my house to go, I want my cash to go, I want my watch to go. And it's so much more than that. When you make your own will, it's yours. So that document is everything to do with you. It's your last will and testament. The government will is anybody's. There's only 4 of us in the studio right now, but we'd all have the same will.
No.
And, you know, none
We've
of
all
us...
got very different situations.
Exactly right, yeah. And yet we all get given the same will, so it doesn't work, and it sounds melodramatic, but it can tear families apart. So that's why it's really important to make a will, because then you've kind of guaranteed that what you want to happen is going to happen. If you don't make a will, you're hoping that the government will does what you want it to do. But unfortunately, because it was designed in 1925 when society was very different, it didn't really take account of people being on the second or third marriage, perhaps having children from previous relationships, having children together. And whilst I say it sounds melodramatic, it rips that family apart at what's already a really difficult time. And there's nothing worse than having to speak to a widow and say, oh, what you thought was going to happen isn't going to happen, because actually this is what the rules of intestacy say. And the number of times we hear, well, that's not what he wanted, that's not what she wanted. And it genuinely is heartbreaking, because we know that if you speak to someone like Charlotte or a member of a team, just for 30 minutes, all of that extra heartache can go away. So I'm not suggesting for 1 second a will makes a bereavement any easier, but I tell you what it doesn't do, it doesn't make it worse. And that's why no one ever regrets making a will. This is not an impulse purchase, you know, or a dodgy haircut like I had when I was younger. What did I do that for? You're never going to look back and go, oh, I wish I'd not done a will. In fact, Charlotte will tell you, and tell me if I'm wrong, but most people finish the consultation with, I'm glad I did that.
Yeah, they do.
So it's like a relief.
It is.
Yeah.
It's a weight off your shoulders, isn't it? Even if you don't realise.
I was just going to say the same.
It's a really selfless,
Massively.
brilliant thing you're doing, not just for yourself, but more importantly, the people that you leave behind. It's selfless. It's a
And
really selfless act.
It can rip families apart, because I don't think a lot of people will realise. Obviously, you know, we're not married, so it
What do you
wouldn't
mean,
work.
obviously?
No, I don't mean obviously we're not married. I mean, we're not married. So if one of us died, the money wouldn't go to each other, even though we've been together so long. If someone is married, but they are on a second marriage and they've got children from different partners, even though they perhaps live as one big family and even the kids don't see themselves as stepbrothers and sisters, that gets really complicated, doesn't it, if you haven't got a will in place?
Yeah, it can, because again, as we've said, the rules of intestacy doesn't account for, you know, who you see as family, anything personal. It's just simple yes or no questions.
So it's bloodline.
So it's bloodline. So first question is essentially, are you married or in a civil partnership, yes or no? And it's actually not the whole amount that goes to the first spouse, it's only the first 322,000. But let's say in this scenario, it's all going between spouses. So I'll use your finger puppets, Ian.
My finger puppets
Good
are
example,
great.
it's great. So let's say you've got a husband and wife, and husband passes, so it all goes to wife.
Yeah.
And on wife's passing, I'm sure, as we've just said, she sees all the children. Husband's got a daughter, she's got a son. She sees them both as her own. You know, she's brought them up. They're a family unit. But as per the rules of intestacy, if the wife then passes away, it only goes via her bloodline to her children. So it would actually only then pass to her son. So husband's daughter would actually get nothing, when actually they wouldn't have intended for that. They would have intended for the children to probably inherit equally, or however they would have seen it.
And even though we said that's so wrong, it's completely out of your hands, isn't it?
Exactly, and then you're leaving it all essentially to that one child then to handle. But, you know, when money gets involved, people don't always, you know, and it breaks families up. And that could have been a really tight-knit family, and you've got two children there that are then arguing because it hasn't gone as it should have done.
And I don't think that government will works for anybody. So it doesn't work for us. It doesn't work for remarried couples. Again, even if you're married for the first time. But that story that really sticks in my mind is that gentleman who he wasn't married. He was quite well off. And he died but in his early years, sort of in his 40s, didn't he?
Yeah, suddenly and unexpectedly, yeah. And we'll never know why he didn't make a will. It could be any of the reasons that we hear quite often.
In my heart, I think, well, I haven't got a partner, so I've got no one to leave it to. I haven't got any children, so I've got no one to leave it to. But what happened?
Well, the backstory, which made it, I don't want to say interesting, but the story stuck with me when I heard it, was the backstory is when this gentleman was born, his father left the family. So basically, his mum was left to bring him and his older brother up, so left as a single parent, effectively. So he never knew his dad. So never met his dad. There was no birthday cards, there was no contact. His dad had nothing to do with his life whatsoever. So his mum's brought up him and his older brother, and sadly, he passed away suddenly and unexpectedly without a will. So of course he's died intestate, so he gets a government will. The first question that's asked of the person that's passed away is, are you married or in a civil partnership? It's a yes or no question, and the answer was no, he'd never married. That takes you to the next question, because it's like a flow chart. The next question is, do you have children? And the answer was no, he'd never had children. So the next question is, do you have parents? And the answer, of course, was yes. So his father that he'd never met, his mom then had to track down her ex-husband who walked out on him all those decades before and say, our youngest son has passed away, and by the way, you're entitled to half of his estate. And everyone sort of does that doesn't seem right, that's not fair. and it sounds awful. Morally, it doesn't feel right.
No.
It doesn't seem fair, and you could argue quite reasonably, if you had the opportunity to speak to that gentleman and say, is this what you would have wanted to happen? He would have probably said no. We all know that. But that's the reality of not making your own will, is you don't decide what happens. The rules of intestacy do. That's the law. So if you're sat watching this show tonight, there's an opportunity. I'm sorry you've got to see my double chins and my big nose, but there is, in all seriousness, there's an opportunity tonight if you're watching this. You've got an opportunity to do something amazing, not just for yourself, but for your family. And you'll never really fully appreciate just how amazing it can be. But it means that if you take that, the hardest thing is sending the text tonight or picking up the phone and speaking to one of Charlotte's colleagues. That's the hardest thing about this. After you've done that, it gets easier because you speak to a member of Charlotte or a team, they'll hold your hand through the whole thing. And at the end of it, you'll get your will. It says your last will and testament.
Whatever situation you're in, it's your personal bespoke
and then it's all about control. So you choose your executors, and we'll talk you through that. So you choose who's going to deal with everything for you, and you make that decision. You choose how and when your children inherit. And not all parents want children to inherit equally, and not all parents want all children to inherit.
No.
Sometimes there's been
Sometimes
breakdowns in
fallout.
relationships. And I promise you, if you're watching this now, if you're thinking, oh, I don't need a will because I've told my eldest son, or I've told my friend, or my partner and I know what each of us want to happen, I don't mean this as a throwaway comment. That is meaningless.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean anything, because the law dictates that you've either passed away with your own will, or if you haven't made your own will, you will be given the government will. And that's where it's most heartbreaking, because if you have told someone what you want to happen and then it's realised that isn't, that's even more difficult. So please do something amazing for your family. We've made it as inexpensive as possible. It's the equivalent of just over 70p a day for those over those four monthly payments. Yeah.
I thought it'd be so expensive, and it's not. And of course, on top of that, you've got extra discounts with us today as well. It's so important to have a will, and there's so many reasons. It might not be. You might be at home thinking, well, I haven't got a great deal, but you can see here it's not just about your estate, it's also the ages that your children and grandchildren inherit as well, which is really, and also which we haven't gone into, if something happened to the two of you and your younger children are left without parents, the guardians who you'd want to be, to look after your children.
So important. And then things like specific gifts, charitable donations.
Yeah, it might be that perhaps you haven't got family, but perhaps you'd like to leave to a charity, or even to a friend, or perhaps it's your cat or your dog that you want someone to look after, and then you're going to give a donation perhaps to the charity where the dog or the cat is going to go. And even funeral wishes as well. So many things you don't think about.
Without a doubt, and so affordable. I think for a lot of people, if they don't know, they think it's going to be really expensive, it's going to be really awkward. But Charlotte, the great thing is tonight we can explain that to take that first step, you don't need anything. It's just getting in touch, isn't it?
Yeah, just getting in touch, just taking that first step initially, picking up that phone, sending that text message. We'll deal with the rest. Once you've made that first step, one of the team will get back to you, whether you call us, if you text us, we'll get back to you later today.
Yes.
I always go to say tomorrow. It's early morning. Later today or tomorrow. And we'll book a time that's best for you. So you can do it at the comfort of your own home, sit in bed with a cup of tea if you want to, sit on the sofa, get yourself comfortable. We'll arrange a date and time that's best for you, around work, around your schedule. And as Ian says, half an hour we can take it. It's at your pace. Some clients will come to us and they'll know exactly all the answers. Exactly.
Takes as long as it takes.
Know all the answers, and it can be done in that session, which is absolutely great. But if not, we can call you back. Clients might take longer.
Pressure, is there?
Absolutely,
Not for a minute did you rush us when we did the lasting power of attorney. There wasn't one moment where I thought, I can't ask that question. You made us feel so relaxed that when I usually think, that was a silly question, why did I say that? Or I'm not going to ask that because that's daft. I could ask you anything. And even after that first conversation, I knew I could email, I should have asked that, emailed the question through, and you got back to us. And it wasn't until we were all happy that it's then finalised.
Yeah, we won't produce a document for you unless you're 100% happy with it, which is why it's at your pace. We'll make sure that you are happy, you'll get the documents posted to you, and we don't just leave it there either. We can validate your documents for you to make sure they are legal and in place. So it does need to be signed and witnessed by two individuals not related to you to actually be legal. We will take you through all of that as well. So it's a process all the way through until you know that document is legal and in place.
We provide a free validation service. It's not just about making that call, that text today. We make sure that you've got everything right and that it's all in place.
Start to finish, isn't it?
Yeah.
100%. And honestly, throughout that journey, if at any point you're not happy with it, you just turn around and say, I'm not happy, I want my money back, and touch wood. No one does that because, you know, Charlotte's all right.
If you're lucky to get through to me.
But again, in all seriousness, I mean, you will find actually that sometimes a consultation is lighter than you thought it was going to be.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're talking about you, we're talking about your family, and you know that list that you just put up on the screen there. The key thing to take away from that, what's important, is if you think back just a couple of seconds ago, you were talking about you choose, because it's you, it's your document, it's your family, it's your estate, it's everything you worked hard for. If you don't make your own will, you don't get to choose anything. The rules of intestacy will make that choice for you. Please don't pass away with a government will. You won't regret speaking to a member of Charlotte's team or Charlotte herself.
Well, all those 5-star reviews, it mentions names. It's not simply law as such, it's the, you know, Charlotte
team,
or the team's names. And you're award-winning now, which we'll talk about as well. But the 5-star reviews are fabulous.
Yeah, this is our very own Charlotte. Look, my consultation was done by Charlotte. She was very professional and explained thoroughly each stage, making sure it was firstly what I wanted and that I also understood any advice that she gave me. Excellent service. You don't need to be afraid, even though it is legality. It's such a good service, and we can say that because Hayley did lasting power of attorney with her mum. Jean said this was rather nervous to begin with, but from the very beginning, every person I spoke to put my worries at rest. It was a very simple procedure, and I will be recommending them to anyone I know who hasn't got a will yet. And that's why it's so important. Hayley also just mentioned, Ian, Charlotte, award-winning now. Again, this is something to be really proud of, isn't it?
We are. Look, it comes down to everybody. Like, I know it always sounds cliche, but it's not about one person. It's what we do as a group, really, and the service that we provide. So, yeah, I was very proud and very drunk. But no, again, really, really proud of receiving the Best Will Writing Company in British Wills and Probate Awards. It was, you know, we've been working to this for a number of years, and you know, there's a reason we do these shows. There's a reason we do what we do. Of course, it's nice to run a successful business, but selfishly, I've said this for quite a while, I find myself really lucky to have found this profession because we're not selling something that people want. We're not selling anything. Yeah, I appreciate we're on Shop on TV, but what we're able to do is give something to people that they actually need. They just don't always know that they need it, and that's why we do these shows. I promise you, if you sat there thinking, I don't need a will, just ask yourself the question, who's told you that? Who's giving you that information? And if it was John, the pub quiz champion, don't trust him. He's probably not qualified. He's probably not got professional indemnity insurance. You know, it's weird. We hear lots of different stories. Well, Bob told me we were you know,
so
common
true.
law husband and wife.
Yeah, we thought that.
Or, well, I've told my son, so everything will be okay, won't it? Or worse still, well, I'm sure everything will be fine.
Yeah.
And every now and then you'll get a kind of flippant remark where someone will say, well, I've passed away, so I don't care. But you would really.
Or if you were looking down and your family's falling out because they know what you wanted, but actually now it's not happening because you didn't write that will. It's devastating.
If you're put off making a will because you think it's going to be complicated, if you put off making a will because you might be sat there now going, well, I'm still not really sure what I want to do, so I'm going to wait till I am sure. If you speak to someone like Charlotte, even if you don't complete it immediately, we'll help you get to where you need to be. But you have to start the ball rolling, because if you don't, you've made the point earlier, and you're quite right. If you go to bed tonight, the chances are you probably won't text us tomorrow because life will get in the way again. So if your phone's next to you now, by all means speak to the team. Charlotte's colleagues are there right now. Phone them. 0333 600 2600. But if you can't get through, because we know these shows get really busy, definitely send the word will to 66777. That we'll treat that as you've secured the deal.
Great.
And if you're in the first 250, that'll secure the book for you as well. So if the phone's there now, there's no excuse not to do it, because I promise you, you won't regret doing it. It's not a big thing to do, and yet it has such a big impact.
Yeah.
It can be absolutely life-changing for the people you leave behind. And I'm not being melodramatic there.
No.
Because we live and breathe it every single day, we see the devastation that passing away without a will can leave. And that's the frustration for us, is we're like, we could have fixed that in 15 minutes.
Yeah.
You see the devastation as well. If I remember a story about a gentleman, and he wanted to leave what he'd got to his best friend who had looked after him, his neighbour, and he'd written it down.
Everyone
hadn't
knew
he?
it. Yeah, I was aware of this story. Everyone knew it, and he'd sort of even made a note. It just sort of went, you know, all to Robert, and it ended up going to a second cousin who he'd got no relationship with in Canada.
That he'd never met.
Yeah, and so everyone knew, and even Robert was like, and even though understandably it's like I didn't really ever want the house, but
he'd always said that
they were lifelong friends, and he always said, look, when I pass away, this is coming to you, and no one had ever sort of said, have you made a will to make that happen? And he'd never made a will, so he'd passed away intestate, and of course under the rules of intestacy, Robert's just a friend, he's nobody.
Just has to follow those yes/no questions.
So then it's the yes/no questions that end up going to a distant relative in Canada. So this kind of stuff's heartbreaking, because everyone's going, well, aren't you getting? I thought you were all.
Yeah.
So, and it takes not a lot of money, and not a lot of time, and it's such an important thing, and we just don't have enough information out there for people to make.
I think
an
one of the
informed
biggest
decision.
things is people don't realise that there is a will that's going to fall in place if you haven't written your own, and that's what you're seeing on the screen, which is what we call the government will. And this was actually put together 100 years ago when life was very, very different for a start.
Yeah.
But even back then, I'm sure it wouldn't have worked correctly for everybody.
The best I've heard about the rules of intestacy is it does a job.
Yeah.
But it's a default position. When you make your will, if you speak to Charlotte or a colleague of Charlotte's, they're going to ask you, who would you like to carry out your wishes? So you're going to choose your executors. Now that can be your family, it can be your friends, it can be professionals, it can be a combination. But we'll talk you through that, because that will be your choice, but you make that choice. If you pass away without a will, who's going to come in and sort it out? That's the first question that doesn't get answered under the rules of intestacy. If you've got young children, if they're under 18, you can decide what age you want your children to inherit. So whilst parents don't want to think about not being around to see the children grow up, we know from experience that talking to parents, most of them don't want the children to inherit 18. They think it's too young.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's their choice. Everyone's different. Some will choose 21, some will choose 23, some will go 58. But again, it's personal preference. And staying with young children, what a lot of people don't realise is you can also pass on through your will something called parental responsibility. So you can set a guardianship clause in your will that says, if God forbid both of us passed away, we'd want our children to be looked after by.
Right.
And again, if you don't do that, there's nothing legally documented to say where your children would go.
So what would happen if you hadn't got that in a will?
In real extreme cases, and thankfully it is extreme, then they become a ward of court and can even go into the care system. But essentially, let's say it's not unusual for two sets of grandparents to,
Step up.
it's the wrong word, but fight about who wants to have the
Who should
children.
have them, yeah.
But whoever steps forward then have to present themselves at court, and effectively, someone that's never met you, never met your children, they're going to
No.
make the decision about where your children will go, when deep down you knew all along you wanted them to go with your sister, with your brother, with your best friends, whoever.
And even if obviously a lot of people have godparents,
Yeah,
I always thought, because we're godparents to so many children, I thought, God, we're going to have loads.
you can breathe.
But
not legally binding,
it's not legally binding, is it, at
No,
all?
it's a religious position, isn't it? But again, it's part of, there's a lot of myth around passing away. There's a lot of myth around
Perception,
estate
isn't
planning.
it? Yeah.
And again, it's not unusual for us to hear things like, oh no, guardianship's sorted because they've got godparents. There's nothing legal about that.
Assumption, isn't it?
But if it is the godparents that you want as guardians, let's name them in
Do
the
it,
will.
yeah,
And that's all included in this. We can take care of all of that, but you need to speak to Charlotte.
And again,
So text us, phone us.
Yeah, it's really important to get in touch and take that first step. And when it comes to a will, you do initially think, oh, it's monetary, it's just about money. But like Ian was just saying about guardians for your children, about specific gifts we talked about.
Perhaps you've got
Your
an heirloom
pets.
that you want to go through the family. Pets is a big one. And you might be sat at home right now thinking, I haven't really got anything, but you've got probably the house that you live in, you've got the car that you drive around, and you have got your cat or your dog that you want someone to look after, or perhaps you've got a really special ring that's been in the family for years and you'd love that to go to your daughter. If it's not written down, sadly, none of that happens.
No.
And it's so sad, and I don't know what happens when we pass, but I often think Dad's looking down on us. And can you imagine if you haven't written a will and then you're looking down on the whole family falling out, and you know what you wanted, they knew what you wanted because it was never written down legally. It all goes to that government will. It's completely out of everybody's hands, and all of a sudden something that would have been so quick and easy, your last gift to your loved ones, to your family. I know we worry about doing things like this, or we put things off actually, probably. You know, you think, well, like, yeah, I am going to get round to it, but we never do.
And if a will's not in place, the process that you have to go through.
And you just don't know what is around the corner. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, and tomorrow might be too late. So get in touch today. Today you've got an extra 10% off. It's a one-off 10% off for this show. You've got the opportunity, if we've still got them as well, to get the first 250 books and What My Family Should Know. But you've got an incredible price, and all you're doing tonight or this morning is securing those deals. You don't need to know any answers to any questions.
You don't need any documentation, you don't need anything with you. It's just getting the ball in motion, taking that first step to get your will. The will itself, a suggested retail price of £209. Our normal offer price is brilliant at £99. But we've got an extra 10% off for this show only. It's a one-off. The team have offered us this extra 10% off, so it comes down to £89 or £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. That's for the will itself. Then we go to lasting power of attorney. This is just as important, isn't it?
It is, and we'll go into detail again about that shortly. But a lasting power of attorney is so important for a loved one. Should be £349. Our normal price £199, and this is so important if perhaps someone falls ill with dementia or is in a serious accident. They can't look after themselves. It allows you very much to step into their shoes. Tonight you've got an extra 10% off, £179, and of course you can split that cost to those 4 payments of £44.75. You might be thinking right now, well, I'm just going to, it's the will that we need to get sorted. But as the show goes on, you might think a bit later, oh, I wish I'd done the will and lasting power of attorney, because that was a huge saving. You're saving £316 there. As long as you secure the prices tonight, even if you think, well, actually, yeah, I'll add on the lasting power of attorney, I know the team will allow you to do that, because that should be £558. Our regular set sort of discounted price is £269, but you've got 10% off that tonight. But remember, that's just a one-off at £242. And again, you can split that with 4 payments of £60.50. So easy to get in touch. The first 250 people will get that free book, which is brilliant. It's worth £25, and I know lots of people want to buy that. But if you're the first 250 people, you will get one of those books. I know they went last time, but hopefully you'll be getting them tonight.
These are the ways you can get in touch. Go direct to simplerlaw.co.uk and do that /shop on TV, and it'll take you straight through to those exclusive offers. The team are in the call centre right through till 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600. You don't need any documents, you don't need any information. You're just securing the deal on the show tonight, and it's really important to do it right now with that extra 10% discount. If the phones are busy, and we're hearing that the phones have been really busy in the call centre, if the team don't pick up, please just text the word will to 66777.
How easy is that?
Yeah, if you've got your phone there with you, the word will to 66777.
You haven't had to speak to anybody. All you've done is text will, and those prices have been secured. It's as simple as that. And somebody will get back in touch with you probably later on today, and then sort out a time that's convenient with you to talk through things. And that's for whether it's the will or the lasting power of attorney. I think we all know what a will is, and I think hopefully watching the show you've understood that if you haven't written a will, there is a government will that falls in place, which you don't want to happen because it's not going to be your wishes. But some of you might not know what lasting power of attorney is, and we only knew because of your mum being poorly. And a lasting power of attorney is just as important as having a will. We actually, funnily enough, did my mum's lasting power of attorney through Simpler Law before they came with us here on Shop on TV, and they made everything so easy. I'm petrified of anything sort of law-like or sounding daft or asking the wrong question. You don't need to know anything.
It's not something that you deal with every day,
No.
so I think everybody's like that, aren't they? The great thing is, as Hayley said, you don't need to know anything. And if you've heard of lasting power of attorney, but you're not quite sure what it means, let's ask Charlotte to explain it again, because it is a term that's... you see it around quite a lot now, don't you? It's much more prevalent.
Yeah, definitely. And I think unless you know someone that's been through it, that you can relate to, or you are just aware of these documents, you might not actually have heard of them before,
No.
because a will is inevitable. We all know that we're going to need to use a will at some point.
Yeah.
Powers of attorney, these are documents that you put in place hoping you never need them, but should life throw you a curveball and you do need them, they are there. So it's, if you lose your capacity for any reason, whether it's through ill health, it could be dementia, it's quite prevalent at the moment, it could be a freak accident, but anything where you can't make your own decisions, these documents allow you to nominate who you trust to essentially become you and make the decisions on your behalf for you.
Because I would presume, because everybody knows I look after Mum, you know, Mum's always my best interest, you know, she's the number one, she's, you know, she's even ahead of Sean. But, you know, but
We all know our
everybody would
position
know
in life, don't we?
I
We
had
all know
her
our
best
position.
interest at heart. But the truth is, and when I think about it logically, it makes sense. But I would think, well, obviously I can sort out her affairs, but I can't, because I couldn't go in her bank now and sort out anything financial, could I? So if she was poorly.
Exactly. If you call any institution like a bank or energy company, anything
Yeah,
like that,
anybody.
yeah, first thing they're going to say is, are you the account holder? And they're going to do data protection. So you're not going to get any further than
stops
that.
there, doesn't it, if you're
Exactly.
not?
Yeah, and if you've lost your capacity, you're even more vulnerable.
Of course you
So
are.
they want to protect you. So you're not actually going to be able to do any of those things for anybody without power of attorney. And the important thing with these documents is you have to put them in place whilst you've got capacity,
while you're
because
well.
once it's too late, you can't then put the documents in place. You have to apply for what's called court of protection.
Now, let's talk about the two different types, and then we'll talk about the court of protection if we can, because
Yeah.
there's property and affairs, which is like financial, like we were talking about, isn't it?
Yeah, financial. So essentially, as we've said, whoever you nominate, whether it be friends or family, they essentially step into your shoes, and with regards to the financial document, it allows them to access your banks, so they can pay bills.
Yeah, because of course all those things are still happening.
Yeah, this doesn't just stop because you've lost your capacity. These still need to, still need to run and be managed, so they can pay bills, they can claim pensions, they can claim benefits if you're receiving any benefits at that point. If you've got property, they can sell that if they need to, they can manage it.
Right.
You might have a rental property that you need to keep managing as
Perhaps
well.
you need to sell the property to go into a home or something, so you could be in control
Yeah.
of that.
Yeah, exactly. And you can see on there as well, manage investments, deal with HMRC, anything from a financial point of view. On a power of attorney, you're called the donor. So you are donating your power to your attorneys. They're essentially becoming you. So anything you would normally do with your finances, they can do for
So they
you.
virtually step into your shoes and they can sort all of that out.
Yeah, exactly, straight away. So once you've lost your capacity, they can take that document to the bank, wherever they need to go, and become you and do
And
that
the
for you.
donor can be anyone of your choice, can't they?
So the donor is you,
That's the key.
Oh,
It's your
right.
but you're...
But
Sorry.
that's the key, is the attorney's your choice.
Right.
Yes.
You're right.
That's what
It's all about your choice. Yeah, yeah, it's all your choice.
It could
so,
be your children, but perhaps it's a friend you trust more, or perhaps it's a
yeah,
cousin.
and it could be a mix. Yeah,
Yeah.
entirely your choice. And that's something we discuss as we go through the consultation. But yeah, a lot of people do tend to choose their children. Could be siblings, could be friends. If they're, it's who you choose, who you
We
trust.
came to you for Mum for the financial side of it, and honestly made it so simple, because Mum's a bigger worry than me, but it was just simple questions and answers. We became friends, really, and we didn't need to know anything, because you know the questions, so just chatting, you found out everything that you needed to know.
But
Yeah.
it is just like this, isn't
Yeah,
it?
it is.
You know, the conversation we have, that's the conversation you have with the client.
Yeah, absolutely. You might even
become
have a bit of fun.
friends. Yeah, absolutely.
You might even
do.
have a bit of fun. But yeah,
Yeah.
we have to ask those questions, and we might take you to a dark place for a couple of moments. But we're talking about you. We're talking about your life.
Yeah.
You know, we all like to talk about that, don't we?
Yeah.
So it is just a really nice conversation.
And you hope it's something you're not going to need to use, but you know it's in place, and it is a big weight off your shoulders. That I know now, if anything did happen, that I can just step into Mum's shoes and make sure that she could stay in her own home, pay
that peace
her
of
bills.
mind, isn't it, again?
Absolutely.
But that was just the beginning, wasn't
Yeah,
it?
because I didn't realise when we spoke to you about that there were two lasting powers of attorney, and as soon as I heard about the second, I was like, Mum, this is just as important. This is
It
health
is.
and welfare, isn't it?
Health and welfare, yes. I think everyone can relate to the property and financial because, like I say, money doesn't stop turning. But the health and welfare document, this again, whoever you nominate, it can be the same as the financial, it can be different people. They can discuss where you're living. So it could be children and want you to stay at home with them and they want to care for you at home. They can make that choice if they've got the health power of attorney. If you need to go into a care home, they can just decide where that care home is.
Right.
They can even discuss things like what you're wearing and what you're eating, which to some people might not sound important, but only your loved ones or the people closest to you are going to understand what that is for you.
It's so important if someone's been a vegetarian all their life, that even now they're poorly, that they still are a vegetarian.
Yeah, you might like to dress a certain way, you might like to wear makeup a certain way, and only your loved ones are going to know that, so they can actually arrange that for you. And with care homes as well, they can actually decide who isn't visiting you, because you may actually be estranged from a family member, whether it be a child or a sibling, that if you had capacity, you wouldn't want to see. So by having that document, again, it's trusting someone to make the right choice for you, and they can say, actually,
you give
Mum
your
wouldn't
voice,
want
you
that
give your
person.
voice to someone else
Yeah.
legally.
And what
That's
happens?
a great description,
Yeah,
isn't it?
it is really, really great. But what happens if you haven't got that voice? If you haven't got that lasting power of attorney? What if Mum was poorly? I want to sort out her affairs. I want to make sure that she's in the right place, the right home. What would I have to do if we didn't have lasting power of attorney?
So if the worst happened and your mum was thrown that curveball, she doesn't have capacity, but she doesn't have a lasting power of attorney, that would rely on you applying for what's called a deputyship order through the Court of Protection. So that's the only route that's open to you. So that's a process through the courts where you have to say, my mum's lost capacity, I would like to take control of affairs, and then you have to pay a series of fees to go through that process.
We're just seeing those.
Yeah, there you go. So obviously, there's an application fee there of £408, which the application fee itself is more than double what we're saying you can write a lasting power of attorney for this evening, or this morning, should I say. The assessment fee is £100. If the court asks for a hearing, that's £494. And then because if you're lucky enough to be granted the deputyship order, you're then supervised what you're doing with that money. Sometimes they'll put limits on the most you can spend. There's a very common theme of sometimes people have gone to pay for something and it's over that limit, so then they still have to go back to the court. There's a lady that tried to pay her own daughter's tuition fees, but because it was over a £500 limit, they'd been in court.
She had to go back.
Yeah, she actually had to ask permission from the court to pay her own daughter's tuition fees, because sadly her husband was in an accident and put in a coma, and he didn't have a lasting power of attorney, so she had to go through the court protection process. They granted her the deputyship order, but
If
then
it was over £500, she had to go back.
the heartbreaking thing about that story, I think you remember the line, she actually said that she cried when her husband passed away, and she also cried when she was released from the Court of Protection, because it took for him to pass away before she didn't need that power.
That permission each time.
You know,
So she hasn't got control over what was really her own money, because...
Yeah, this lady was really honest about the position. They'd made wills, they just thought that's all they needed to do, and then of course life threw them this curveball. Bad stuff's always going to happen to somebody else. That's human nature. We always think it's going to happen to someone else. Unfortunately, if it happens to us, the best we can do is plan for the worst and hope for the best. I call these a what-if document. You know, my wife and I have had them for 18 years. Hopefully we'll never need to use them. We've not needed them for the last 18. Hopefully we won't need them forever. But they're there if we do, because no one knows what the future holds. So we didn't make a lasting power of attorney and they're like, oh, I hope we get to use these one day. It's quite the opposite. But, you know, we will forget about ourselves and our family sometimes in favour of perhaps a boiler or a pet or even a, you know, a digital device.
We insure so many things, don't we, in the house?
Yeah.
And wouldn't think twice about it.
We won't think twice about insuring cars, and sometimes people go, yeah, but you've got to insure a car. Well, you only have to insure a car third party legally, but most of us insure it fully comprehensive. So, you know, we'll insure a piece of metal. Like I said, loads of people will be, you always talk about your mum insuring a dishwasher, for example. And look, let me be really clear, a lasting power of attorney isn't an insurance policy. But the reason I bring up insurance is it can be thought of in a similar way. It's a document that you want to have, and then honestly hope that your family never need to use it. But if they do, all your family have to do, we'll talk you through the registration process with the Office of the Public Guardian. Some people choose to register it with them straight away. Some people choose to store it like my wife and I have done. Again, that's personal preference. The important thing is you get this document done today while you can. We help you get it all signed, dated and witnessed correctly, so we hold your hand through all of that.
And that's really important, isn't
that's
it?
really important,
the signatures, how it's signed. And you give a really nice, there's sort of, it talks you through, you can watch sort of videos and things, and you talk us through it as well as to how signs, who signs first. Because when we did Mums, it was really bizarre, because the lady that lives next door to Mum, or did do for forever, she was there when Mum moved into the house as a little girl, and she'd grown up, and then she had her children in the house next door. We'd always known her as her name, but then when she signed the documents, she sort of signed and put her name wrong, sort of thing. And we didn't even think about it. You noticed it and said, hang on, why has she got two different names?
She printed it one way and signed another.
Because we didn't know the name she went by and that she had signed by was her middle name. So actually that signature would have been wrong, but you noticed that, and we would have had no idea.
So
yeah, we help you
valid,
through all of it. It's not just the consultation and actually producing the documents for you. We do offer the free validation service to make sure they are signed and they are legal and in place for you, so you've got that peace of mind. And as Ian says, you can put them to the side, you can register them straight away. That's all the advice we give you, but it's up to you. It's your choice. Yeah. That's what all this is about. It's just picking up the phone and making that text to say, I'm going to do this, I'm going to make the right choice for me today, and make it yours.
This comes back to the regret again, is, you know, you never regret putting these types of... No one ever regrets making a will, no one ever regrets putting lasting powers of attorney in place. And as cheesy as it sounds, and I'm acutely aware of how cheesy it sounds, but it's because it's true, is it's your family that might regret that you didn't, because it's your family that have to pick up the pieces. Yeah. You know, on one hand, you've got someone that's lost capacity, but they did a lasting power of attorney, and the people that they chose... So it's quite selfish as well as being selfless, it's selfish, because it's the people that you chose. So if I wanted you two to be my attorneys, I don't know why I'd do that.
We'd look after you.
Maybe you, Hayley. But again, if I chose you as my attorneys, that's my choice. Yeah. So I know that if life throws me a curveball, that you're going to step into my shoes and you're going to look after me because I made that choice. And that just happens because you did it while you could today. If I lose capacity without a lasting power of attorney, so I've named nobody, because there's nothing legally in place, I don't know who's going to turn up to the court of protection, if anybody. And that makes a really difficult situation even more difficult. Yeah. So at a time when something's already gone horribly wrong, I'm not suggesting for 1 second a lasting power of attorney diminishes something awful. No, but it doesn't make it worse. Yeah. And I'm not saying people run around high-fiving going, yay, mom or dad, our lasting power of attorney, but honestly, in that respect, that is when it's selfless.
If you've got to go through the courts, I mean, that's horrendously
But at least
expensive.
you know that it's the people that you wanted to have your voice that have got it as well. Because anyone can turn up at the court of protection. Or no one.
Yeah, it's very true.
So, don't get me started on that. Then you're into court procedures, so there's court, and then money just bleeds out of the estate. The thing is, if you're lucky, someone once said to me, you're really lucky if you can count on one hand the people that are really close to you. You know, the person that you can phone at 3 o'clock in the morning. I mean, it would be around at 3 o'clock in the morning. But I think you know what I'm saying, and then you've got an outer circle of friends and you've got acquaintances, etc. Well, it's probably those people that you can count on one hand that you would say, look, if life threw me a curveball, would you step into my shoes? And, you know, and I include close family in that. So it's not unusual for parents to choose adult children. Or, you know, if they've got young children, they'll choose siblings or best friends and things like that. So, but you know deep down who's got similar values to you and who would look after you and who you'd want to act if life threw you that curveball. So you remove all the risk and the chance and you just say, right, I'm going to put a lasting power of attorney in place. And then, weirdly, I hope I never need to use it. That's the difference with a will. You know the will be read, hopefully decades from now, but you know for a fact the will is going to be used and that's brilliant and you know that's going to be used. A lasting power of attorney, you want to have it and then just hope you never need to use it. But if life throws you that curveball, your family will, like I say, I'm not going to pretend they're going to be high-fiving, but they'll be so pleased that you did a lasting power of attorney. We'll often get a phone call going, I think Dad did a will. Did he do a lasting power of attorney? And we'll check our system and we're like, yeah, we've got it here. And they're like, oh. The flip side of that is no, he didn't draft one.
Because once someone is poorly, once someone's got dementia or they've been in a terrible accident and they have lost capacity, it's too late, isn't it?
It's too late at that point.
The Mental Capacity Act says you've got to have mental capacity to make a will and to make a lasting power of attorney. So the worst calls we do get are the too late phone calls, which tells you that someone knew that they needed to do it. And so it's, you know, and you're like, oh, if you'd have only phoned 2 weeks ago, a month ago, you know. But, and that's why, you know, quite right, understandably people are going to be watching this now going, of course you want me to pick up the phone, of course you want me to send a text. And yes, we do. But actually not necessarily for the reason you think. It's because if you do it now is the only time that we can act. We can't do anything yesterday, we can't do anything tomorrow, now's all we've got. But if you send a text or you pick up that phone today, you'll never regret doing that. You'll have done something amazing, not just for yourself, but for the people that you care most about.
And you are tonight just securing those prices, and you have got incredible prices. I think all these things you think, oh, it's going to be really complicated, and you're hearing it really isn't. Simple Law do all of the difficult stuff. All you need to do virtually is sit down and have a chat and have a conversation.
Right. That's the important thing, because this is what they do. They're experts in the field when it comes to wills or lasting power of attorney. You can even have a combination tonight on the offers that are there for you. Take a look at the prices. The prices are brilliant. Suggested retail price, to be honest, for what you're getting.
Well, we thought, you know, when we did our will, we thought it'd be so expensive, but at £209, this is making sure what you want to happen when you pass actually happens. You know, where you want your money to go, or where you want your belongings, your engagement ring, your dog, the kids, everything, the family heirloom. This is, I mean, at £209, it's affordable, but look at our price. Normally £99, that's our normal special price for Shop on TV. But tonight you have got an extra 10% off, so down to £89. When you split that into 4 payments, £22.25. How much do you spend on coffee every week? Or, you know, you go into a bar and get a few drinks, that £22.25 has gone very quickly, hasn't it? Whereas this is actually making sure what you want to happen happens. And don't forget, and we will go into this again, if you haven't written a will, sadly there's a will out there that then takes place when you do pass, and that is the government will, and it won't be at all what you want to happen, and I think you'll agree when you see what actually happens. Lasting power of attorney we've just gone through, and again, really good price on this.
The usual price of £349, or the suggested retail price. Normal reduced price just under £200, but with this extra 10%, this is why you need to do it right now. It's the one-off, the only time we're going to be doing an extra 10% discount across all the offers that we're showing you. So £179 is the price that it comes down to, and if you want to use the interest-free payments, it's just £44.75 on your first of 4 payments. However, the biggest saving of all is if you go for a will and a lasting power of attorney. You can see the suggested price usually at $558. Our offer price at $269 is brilliant, but you've got another 10% off that price. And all you're doing is securing the offer right now. Do it tonight. Take that first step. With those 4 interest-free payments, just £60.50 on the first of 4 payments for your will and your lasting power of attorney. And don't forget, the first 250 clients, if you're still in time, because the whole 250 went last time, will receive the free What My Family Should Know book. It's worth £25, and in there you can record all those essential details, your utility providers, your passwords,
pensions, yes,
your pensions.
It's all the information all in one place, so if something does happen and you pass. I know for me, oh, Mum, she's got so many secret places. You'd be hunting forever to find that, important piece of paper, that important information. But this book was put together, Ian, because you discovered that there's so much out there that isn't claimed because people just don't know it's there.
Yeah, we obviously, as a professional firm, we've got access to certain skill sets and access to third parties where we can help locate assets and various things. Of course, a lot of lay people haven't. And what was born out of our estate administration department were the common questions that we're asking is, can you find this, can you find that? And often people will be saying, well, I think Dad had this, or I think Mom had that, but we can't find this. And so this was put together really to help with that. It complements the will perfectly because it just allows you to sit down and take stock of everything that you've got. Terrifyingly, what came out of our research when we're putting this together, and I think that's why this has been so well received, is it's believed there's £5 billion of pension pots in the UK that's gone unclaimed.
So should be with someone, it's just sat
someone's
there.
Passed away, and maybe that person worked at a company for a number of years, and there's a company pension waiting there that should have been passed on his but it's never been claimed because the family never found it.
Yeah, you didn't know.
No, I know my dad worked in the steelworks in Sheffield, but I couldn't actually tell you all the companies he worked at. Now, he's retired now and he's receiving those pensions, so we would be aware of them, but people pass away at different stages.
Of course, yeah.
But £5 billion, it's a significant amount of money that should be with family members, but it's with the pension providers. £2 billion of unclaimed life insurance policies and £850 million sat in bank accounts where it's going to be really weird to think that that guy should now be 172 years old. I'm being flippant, but again, money that's not being found. So this helps you take stock. It's quite a cathartic process again. And again, it's selfless. So that's where this book came from. It's received really well. Obviously, clients have purchased it as well. But yeah, for the first 250 people, and we did run out on the last show. So hopefully, you know, if you're thinking about it, don't think about it anymore. Just send. If you send the text tonight, if you can't get through, we count that as you've secured it at that time.
So yeah, the book as well.
Yeah. So don't worry about missing out. If you can't get through on the phone because they've been busy, haven't they?
Yes, yeah.
Is send the word will to 66777 and that'll count that you've secured the deal.
And the great thing is you can get in contact any which way, whichever is best for you. So perhaps you'd rather just go onto the website, so simplelaw.co.uk/shop on TV. The phone, the teams are there right now. You might have a couple of questions, you can ask those, but it is just to secure the deal, and that's 0333 600 2600. If the phone lines are busy, they will get to you as soon as they can. However, if you can text Will, that's the quickest and easiest way.
Yeah, if you've got your phone there with you, just text the word will to 66777. Once again, you're securing those deals, you're securing those offers, you're securing the book if it's still available there as well. And the team will get back to you later today or tomorrow. It won't be first thing in the morning. Don't panic and think, oh, they're going to wake me up at 7
They know you're up late with us, and they're up late as well, so they get into contact with you a little bit later on. You might normally go via our website, and you can go via our website as well, so shopontv.co.uk. Scroll down to the middle section there, and you can see there our Simpler Law banner. Click onto that, and it takes you through. Now, the special 10% off, remember, is only for this show, so pop your details in, then just submit that, and that's it done. That again is you secured your deal, because though we're saying you can get these prices up until Friday at close of business, to make sure you get the book, do it now. But if you don't do it now, how many of you will get to Sunday and think, oh, I forgot?
I love what Ian says, life gets in the way. As soon as you get up tomorrow, you'll be doing everything that you have to do.
We were going to go away between Christmas and New Year.
Oh, not this one again.
Yeah, we were.
I thought you'd gone for therapy on this.
No, got an amazing deal, the best deal. I was like, shall we go? Look, it's brilliant.
Yes,
I will take Mum. Shall we do it? Shall we do it? And didn't do it, didn't book it, and then thought, we must book it. So I went on, and, you know, it was there in my basket. It'd gone up £600, because what I'd failed to realise is it was only validated till the end of the month.
What do you do for a living?
Oh, I know. And so did we go away before Christmas, you know, between Christmas and New Year? No, because it was £600 more. Don't miss out on the prices. All you're doing today is securing them, and you know then, when the time's convenient, you can discuss it with the team and say, well, actually, could you get back to me in a couple of weeks, or could you next week? It'd be good. Tuesday's good for us. You know, afternoons are better. You can find that right time. All you're doing tonight is securing those prices.
And that's right, isn't it, Charlotte? If someone does get in touch tonight, they don't need anything right now. You'll tell them as you go through the process what they need.
Yep, just need you to make that first choice today and say, I want to do something. That's all we need. Everything else will lead the way and we'll help you through it.
Don't worry if you're not even sure about, you know, what you want to happen.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because some people will say, well, I'm not really sure, I'm thinking this and I'm thinking that. Or some people might say something, well, we're thinking of moving house next year, and think that that's a barrier to making it. Well, now I assure you it isn't. And if you're always waiting for the next life event before you do it,
I'm getting married next year. I'll wait until I've got.
We can future-proof most things.
And so if someone's already got a will, but they need to update it.
Yeah, absolutely. Still come and speak to us, because is it signed properly? Is it still relevant to your current circumstances?
Right.
That's
we could go through.
It may
have
not,
a look.
Sorry, Charlotte. It may not be your circumstances as well. You know, legislation's changed in the background as well that affects wills.
And there's lots we don't know that obviously you do.
As experts, and
it's our job.
Yeah.
It's our job to know it. But yeah, you're not expected to know it. Quite often we'll meet people and it's like, oh yeah, I did a will 10 years ago, and it's like, has anything changed in those 10 years? Which can be a flippant question. One guy once said to me, he said, well, I'm divorced and remarried and I've had a child.
So
I think
goodness, can you imagine that? Oh.
Well, it's interesting when these companies that do these surveys from time to time that ask, you know, have you made a will? And that's really the wrong question. I understand the question, but have you made a will? Have you made a will is a yes or no sort of question, but it should be, have you got a valid, up-to-date will? Is it signed, dated and witnessed? So much more to a will about it actually being in place. Because there's some people that say, yes, I've got a will, but actually they don't even know where it is.
Yeah.
Well, if you can't find it, that's not valid. Or life's changed that much that it's no longer relevant to their circumstances. So again, it's always important. We can help you stay on top of the will as well. So again, if you're not 100% sure what you want to achieve from your will, don't let that put you off.
Right.
Honestly, Charlotte or her team will help you get to where you want to go. But remember, it'll be your choice at the end, not ours. It's your estate, it's your family, but we'll talk that through with you. And I promise you, the will that you'll get will be right for you. But the important thing is it'll be your will, not the government will. Your will is always going to be better than the government will.
Because I think a lot of people won't realise, and we truly didn't have a clue, that if you haven't written a will, you actually have got one, because it falls into what we call the government will.
That, what you see on the screen there, we call it the government will. It's called the Rules of Intestacy. It's a piece of legislation that was put in place in 1925, so it's about to turn 100 years old. Obviously, society and the makeup of the UK was very, very different 100 years ago. And that has been the default position for the last 100 years for every person that's passed away who hasn't made their own will. And one of the big reasons we do this show is to tell people just that bit of information.
Because who would that work for, that government will?
Well, technically, I want to be a little bit facetious, it works for everybody in the sense that it does work because it's the default position, but in no way does it do what you would have wanted to do for yourself, because there's nothing personal about it, because how can there be? There's only 4 of us in the studio this morning. All of our situations are very different, and yet if we didn't have wills, we'd all get given the same one. So, and it wouldn't take account of your relationship, for example. We've ascertained after the number of years that we've been doing the show that you have been together for 34 years. But again, in all seriousness, even though you've been together for 34 years, there'll be lots of people saying, well, you're common law husband and wife.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
Or I heard someone say recently that, oh, well, once you've lived together for 2 years, you've got certain rights.
We do hear that.
And I'm thinking, well, I don't know who's telling people this, because that honestly isn't the truth. So you're either married or in a civil partnership, or you're not.
Right.
There's no in between. It doesn't matter if you're in love, it doesn't matter if you're cohabiting. You're either married or in a civil partnership, or you're not. And that's the first question that's asked of the deceased under the government will. Then there's a series of other yes or no questions regarding your children, not stepchildren, not friends, not extended members of the family. It's very, very limited series of yes/no questions that then just distributes your estate equally. And when we speak to people, they might want to leave a wedding ring to a daughter and an engagement ring to another daughter.
Yeah.
They might want the children to inherit when they're a little bit older. They might want the children to inherit in slightly different shares because they might have helped out one of the children with a deposit on a house. So I'd like to leave my other child a little bit more to balance that out. The key to writing your own will is just that, it's your will. The government will belongs to everybody. So I appreciate I was facetious when I said, does it work? The default position always works, but it doesn't work for you, it works for the government.
Yeah.
It doesn't take any account of tax allowances. So you could be paying, I think £5.3 billion went to the Treasury last year in inheritance tax receipts. And I think that's estimated to go up to 7 and then 9 billion in the coming years. And with the changes in legislation and the way that certain things are going, where if you've got wealth, people are trying to grab it, if you don't know how to make the most of all the allowances that are available, you could end up where actually the taxman becomes the largest beneficiary of your estate. And all of that is avoidable, legitimately avoidable, just by making your own will.
Because you know, and you'll do it right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're an award-winning company because.
Well, thank you very much.
But you are, aren't you?
No, we are. We're very proud of that. Yeah, I mean that's a culmination of all the years that we've been building this. But yeah, as you can see there, we were very, very proud to be announced as the estate planning firm of the year at the British Wills and Probate Awards in Manchester last year. Nice black tie do. I didn't have too much to drink at all, despite photos that can be seen on that website. But no, look, it was a really nice moment. But that's, you know, in all seriousness, that's a testament to people like Charlotte and her team, and even our administrative team and our diary control team. You know, everyone plays a part. If you send us a text tonight or you pick up the phone tonight, you'll get a first-class service throughout. And if you don't, we'll just give you your money back. You'll secure the deal tonight. We will send you some information to give you a chance to think about things that we might talk to you about. We'll make an appointment that's convenient to you to do the consultation. You'll speak to someone like Charlotte or a member of her team. They'll hold your hand through the whole process, give you appropriate advice throughout. That advice is insured. You're insured for up to £5 million. So if we make a mistake that creates a loss on your estate, you're insured. You'll be covered for that. Touch wood, we've never had a will fail. And at the end of that, you'll decide what advice you take or you don't. But at the end of that, you will have your will. And then we'll even make sure that you've got it signed, dated and witnessed correctly and it's valid. All of that for just over 70 pence a day equivalent. The cost shouldn't be a barrier to you doing this.
No, definitely not.
If you're worried about it being morbid or complicated, I promise you, speaking to someone like Charlotte, it's far from that, and you've been through that even before we knew each other.
Absolutely. When you read the 5-star reviews, so many people personally comment on the people that they dealt with. And when we did the lasting power of attorney for my mum, before Simpler Law came to us here on Shop on TV, the lady that we dealt with became a friend. It's honestly, it's a complete relief and lift off your shoulders, and all of a sudden something that you think is going to be daunting, it wasn't actually. It was so simple.
It is something that we all need, Will. We'll talk more about that, because I think a lot of people think, oh well, I'm too young and I'm not married yet, and I'm going to move house. Don't put it off. You can put it in place.
Doesn't matter what situation you're in.
You can start the process. Hayley mentioned reviews. The 5-star Trustpilot reviews are brilliant. And when Charlotte was talking about them, it's not just about Simpler Law, it's about the people that people deal with when they go through those processes. Here's one that says exactly that. Completed my will today with Gemma. Gemma was very helpful and explained in detail through the steps, making it easier and less stressful to complete. The will was more complicated due to the request I had, but Gemma had no issues in completing
And that's the great thing, they've dealt with everything. So you might think, oh, it's going to be, what I want doing is too complicated. It won't be too complicated for Simpler Law.
Charlotte always says that people who ring and say, oh, it's going to be really difficult, usually they're okay. And then people who say, well, is it going to be easy, Mike? That's when it could be a bit... Oh.
We've got dear friends that hadn't written a will, and they were like, it's just too complicated because we've got to do this.
We were lecturing them just last night.
You've got to get your will done. And at last, thank goodness, via Simpler Law, they're doing exactly that. And though they thought what they'd got was just too complicated with different properties and the parents and this and that and what have you, it's all going to be sorted because Simpler Law know exactly how to do it and how it should be done. It just makes it so simple. All you need to know is who and what you want in your will, and everything else will be sorted out for you.
And the other thing is the team will help you with that. You know, they'll
yeah, you
talk
don't need to
through
know
that.
anything, actually. You sit down and have a chat, and it actually comes out in conversation. Even at the minute, you might think, well, I don't really know. There might be somebody in the family that, sadly, big fallout, and you don't want them to have things. Sadly, the government will, which will fall in place if you haven't written a will, it will not be what you want to happen, especially if there's people, you know, in your family, in your bloodline, that you don't want to get things.
Yeah, without a doubt. Like we said, review-wise, there are pages and pages of fabulous reviews. If you want to take advantage, do it right now with those extra special discounts, another 10% off. This one from Sandra: I never recommend any services, but I definitely recommend Simpler Law. Very knowledgeable staff explained every step in detail and provided further advice and information. It's so straightforward. And if you do want to get in touch tonight, Charlotte, people at home, if they're calling, texting, they don't need anything, do they?
No, you don't need to know anything, you don't need to have anything to hand, you just need to know that you want to do something today.
Brilliant.
And take that first step.
That first step.
Take a quick photograph of this. Now, don't get in contact with us and ask about, you know, could I do the will? Could I secure the deal? You must get in contact with Simpler Law, and there's your ways of contacting. So you can either, and this is lovely because you can do whichever way is best for you, go via the website simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV, and that will give you the details with the 10% off, which is an absolute one-off special for our show this morning. You can jump on the phones. The teams are there right now until 3 a.m. and they're fabulous to, you know, perhaps you've got a couple of questions, but it is, again, just securing the deal this morning. And that's 0333 600 2600. I know the phone lines, because we started very early, can get really busy. They will get to you as soon as they can. However, if you can't get through, do jump onto your phone, your mobile, and just text. perhaps you don't want to talk to anybody. We're often like that. We argue about answering the phone or answering the door. I don't want to talk to anybody. Even though our lives are talking and chatting, sometimes you think, I don't want to chat to anybody. So just text Will to 66777, and that will secure those prices, but also secure you that book. There's 250 of those books that we've got worth £25 that you will get if you're the first 250 people.
And if you do text, you don't have to worry about the team getting back to you too early. It'll be after 11 o'clock today in the morning, after 11 o'clock in the morning, I should say, or tomorrow even. But you have secured the offer. You've secured those deals. And if you do change your mind, as Hayley always says, if you want to go for the will and then you think, well, I'd like the sound of the lasting power of attorney, you'll be able to get those deals.
By getting in contact right now, you've secured those deals as to whatever you want to do. So please do it right now. The offer is up until Friday at close of business, but you know it'll get to Thursday and you think, oh, I must do that tomorrow. And then all of a sudden it'll be next Monday and you think, oh, no, I've missed out on the extra 10% off. I've missed out on the book as well. And the book actually is the first 250 people. So do please do it right now. Don't need any information. You're just securing the deal.
And that extra 10% off, first time we've ever done that. That's why it's, I think, been so busy.
I would say take a photo of these so you've got all your prices there. Remember, that is a one-off special for our show, and there you can see there the first 250 clients will get that free book, What My Family Should Know. And that book, you put all your details in, your pensions, your bank accounts, your utility, your passwords for your phone and your tablet, and that could be not for perhaps even vital information, but that could be for memories, for photographs that are on their tablets and their phones. If you haven't got the password or number, you can't get onto that tablet, you can't get onto that phone. It is impossible. And we had that as a family member, and the granddad died very suddenly and nobody knew the password, and they did need vital information, they did want those photographs, and luckily, only because the grandson must have just heard, because he was only quite young, he went, I know granddad's password, and that was the only reason they got that information. It's so important, isn't it? And it's something I think we don't even think about.
It's such a selfless thing to do. I think that's what people won't necessarily realise. None of us want to think about our demise. And when you speak to us, if you make that step to send us a text or phone tonight, like I said, I know what you said about take a picture. Honestly, if you've got your phone next to you about to take a picture, you might as well just text the word Will to 66777. It's risk-free. If you're not happy with anything that we do, you're not happy with the process, we'll just give you the money back. Honestly, promise you that.
And that's peace of mind.
It's risk-free, and no one ever regrets putting this in place.
No.
It's not something you regret doing. You're not going to turn around one day and say, I wish I'd never done a will. I wish I'd never done a lasting power of attorney. That's just never going to come out of your mouth. Every single consultation ends with, on varying degrees, but ends with, I'm glad I did that. That's sorted now. I can put that to bed and then I'll just crack on. But yeah, it's really, really important to make a will, because without a will, you're not taking control. So, like I said, if you've got your phone with you now, one of the best things you'll ever do is just text the word Will to 66777. You won't regret that you did that. It'll be one of the most amazing things you did. It's selfless.
And if you haven't got a will, I think this is where a lot of people get lost. We were the same. We've been together 34 years, but we're not married. But everybody knows we've been together, lived together for forever. So if anything happened to me, it would be Sean's. If anything happened to Sean, it'd be mine. And even though we know everybody knows that, and even though we've been together for such a long time, if one of us had died before us making a will, we wouldn't have got each other's money, which
we presumed we would.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, those presumptions, those misconceptions, and there's so many out there, isn't there?
Yeah, there really is.
When it comes to wills.
Yeah, I think assumption is a big one. Or we like to say, we think it's a lot of hope for a lot of clients, is they just hope that that's going to happen. They don't want to think about it. Yeah, definitely. The assumption, also price, which hopefully we're showing with the show.
Definitely.
Yeah,
brilliant.
And I think a lot of clients might think it might be a bit morbid, don't want to go through that.
Yeah, complicated, I was worried about.
Yeah, but it really isn't. It's just a conversation at the comfort of your own home, at a day and time that's best for you, and at your speed.
It's a bit like this, just you sit down and you chat, and it is so easy.
The dark place we take you to for 30 seconds is, if the worst happened to you yesterday, now we've got all this information, what would you like to see happen? And we make that happen. And then that's your will. If you don't document that, the default position is going to take place, which means you are going to get the government will. And honestly, you don't want to die intestate. It's just, it's not your last act on planet Earth. If you think about it, as we go through life, we we work and we pay our taxes, you know, and then we pass away, and they might take more tax than they need to because we didn't plan, and then the government's actually going to be responsible for what actually happens.
Deciding what happens
yeah,
to
it's the
your-
government will that's going to distribute your estate. And anyone who sat listening to me now is thinking that's not the case, I'm not lying.
Yeah.
There is only two ways you can pass away legally. You either pass away with a valid will in place that's yours, and if not, you get the government will. That's it. It's not enough to tell your son. It's not enough to say my best friend knows what I want to happen.
Didn't you have a really good friend who was like, no, I don't need a will, and you sat him down? Did they have children from different relationships or something?
I rather foolishly said I would never push a will on friends and family because they know what I do for a living, so
Yeah.
they'll come to me. And then I'm a bit embarrassed to say that we lost someone unexpectedly, and it was much more difficult for his family than it needed to be, and I never said anything.
Oh gosh, right.
And so I felt a little bit responsible for that. So now if I'm aware of something, because we don't all share our lives.
No.
I mean, we know that you two have been together for 34 years. That's as much as we know. I'm not even sure your real names are Sean and Hayley. But you know, even people really close to us, we don't
No, you don't.
we don't really know
Yeah.
what's going on in each
Yeah.
other's lives. But when something comes up, or like friends of ours, yes, they were about to get married, and I knew they got children from previous relationships, and even my wife's going, "You're going to say something, aren't you?" I'm going, "I've got to." So I said, right, we all got together, and I said, right, before we have one drink, I said, I'm going to bore you for 5 minutes. And they're going, go on. And I just said, look, and I just explained their situation, what could happen. They went, oh, we need to fix that. I said, and I honestly said, you might not want to speak to me because, you know, you're going to give me personal details, and that might not be me, but I can put you on to one of our colleagues.
Yeah.
I said, and honestly, and I meant this, it doesn't even have to be us, but you just know now that you need to sort it out. And they did. And do you know what? Selfishly, I felt good because now I know they're sorted and everything's
Yeah.
okay, and they did use us. But if I'd not had that conversation, they honestly assumed that, well, once we're married, everything would be okay and the kids would be treated equally. And I'm like, no, they won't. And I had to explain that if one of them passed away first, it would go to new wife or new husband, and then when they passed away, it would only go to their children. So it was a lottery as to whoever died first, their children were going to be disinherited, and that's not what they wanted at all.
And so many people won't realise that.
I think that so many people don't even realise that exists, you know.
That-
Until I did the shows with you, I don't know
many-
what I thought.
How
but-
many people will have heard of the rules of intestacy?
No, I can't even say it. You know, but I had no idea that there was a will out there for us, even though we hadn't physically written one. And that's what you're looking at right now. And really, it's very much to be in if you're married. And I know you had a story as well that there was a lady, she'd been living with a partner for years and years and years, but she still had an ex-husband that she hadn't divorced. And without realising,
And she owned the
Yeah.
property jointly with him.
no.
But because they'd been separated for, as far as she was concerned, it wasn't part of her life.
Yeah.
As far as the law's concerned, the question, if she passed away, is, are you married in a civil partnership? It doesn't say, are you separated?
Yeah.
Have you not seen him for 20 years? So she was like, what do you mean he still gets everything? And we're like, and you own the house jointly with him, so if you passed away
makes my
yesterday,
hairs go.
it all goes to him. She was like, no. We're like, yeah.
There's so much we just don't realise.
No, and that isn't a criticism, and I know I'm making light of it a little bit, but you can only know what you know. I mean, I got a really bad tooth infection last year, which I bored everyone with because it was doing my head in. But guess what? I didn't try and fix it myself. I went straight to a dentist and went, help, I've got a problem. And actually, he was amazing because I'd just like, get it out of my head now. But he sat me down and explained all the reasons why I shouldn't do that, which made
Yeah.
a lot of sense to me, and said, I want to try this procedure and that procedure. And I went, well, I've got to practice what I preach. You're the professional, you're the expert. You do what you're recommending. So I took his advice, and touch wood, it's been fine. But you go to professionals for these things. My car breaks down, I take it to a garage, I take it to the mechanic. It's computers nowadays, isn't it? You know, dentist, tooth, I go to a dentist. When it comes to your estate planning, you want to speak to someone like Charlotte or a member of her team. Not me, by the way, but Charlotte. But in all seriousness, you know, we're going to give you that quality of advice. We're going to give you insured advice. We're
And
gonna
that's
make sure it's
really
the right
important
document.
because things have to be
Hugely
signed
important.
right, don't they? Because you can buy the templates and things, can't you? Which
Another
you do
template.
buy, but you get no advice on how to write things.
Do you know one thing I've never really properly looked into is how this came about? because again, unless you're a qualified will writer, it's such an important document. And I know I'm coming from a biased position, but I know from real experience just how badly it can go wrong if you've not got a will in place or a badly written will. I don't know where these templates sort of manifested from, and you still have to pay for them. But they're not going to give you any advice. They're not going to be insured, and if you make a mistake, the only person to blame, as blunt as this sounds, is you.
You've got to get it right.
Yeah, and if you're not, unless you're a qualified will writer or you're a professional estate planner, I don't know why you, honestly, I don't know why you take the
Not
risk.
when it's
You won't
so
try and pull your
affordable.
own tools.
No, no.
You know, and if you're not mechanically trained, you won't try and repair your own car. So why would you try and write your own will? Now, I know they exist and they're out there, but again, I don't understand why you take that chance.
It's so easy to do it wrong, and you see it frequently, don't you?
Because you
sadly?
can only know what you know, again. So it's not a criticism. You know, I often say that it sounds really rude when you say that someone's ignorant, but I'm ignorant about most things outside of estate planning. I only know this because this has been my life. So, you know, I'll use the same analogy again. Get a toothache. I haven't got the first clue what to do.
So,
Dentist. You know, and if you know, you damage yourself physically, you don't think, oh, I'll try and repair myself. You go to the doctor, you go to the professionals, and yet there's these templates that exist that you still have to pay for, that give you no advice and no security. And like I said, unless you're qualified in this area, unless you know all the tax allowances, unless you're really clear on first death and second death if you're writing as a joint will. And again, I don't want to make this sound complicated to anyone that's listening, because it's not when you speak to Charlotte or a member of her team. But if you don't know what you're doing, it's really easy to make a misstep. It's really easy to pay more tax than you need to, and it's really easy to make a mistake, as we've seen so many times when we've seen these. And it's really easy not to get it signed, dated, and witnessed correctly.
and if someone's got a will, you know, that they think is legally binding right now, but they're a bit unsure whether it's right for them now or if it has been signed correctly, can they come to you and get you to check things?
We'll go through it with you, and if it's fine, we'll leave you. And as I said, you know, the reason I said there's no risk to this, if you secure this deal tonight, I'm saying this with some confidence because it's never happened, and we turn around and said, oh, the rules of intestacy is perfect for you, or no, we can't help you, and touch wood, that's never happened, you get your money back. This is risk-free. I know I'm not being flippant when I say it's not a lot of money, but we're not talking thousands and thousands.
Yeah.
We're talking the equivalent of just over 70 pence a day if you take the interest-free option for a will. You know, most of us, if we think about what we spend, if we do stop for a coffee or, you know, we buy a paper or whatever we spend our money on, it's much easier to spend more than 70 pence a day. And this is such an important document. That's the epitome of value for money. I did misspeak on one of these shows once, and I said the priceless. I said, you cannot put a price on these, but we have, it's 89.
This is how much.
But the value to your family is unquantifiable.
Oh, yeah.
And we see every single day where someone's passed away without planning, and that can make a really bad situation so much worse. And of course, also at the same time, we're dealing with people who have planned, and it's like, yes, we've got your dad's will here, sorry to hear your news, but let's sort all that out for you, and it's done. And there's no ambiguity, there's no arguments, because someone took half an hour out of the life, did something selfless and did something wonderful for the family and the loved ones.
And if you haven't got a will and perhaps your family know exactly what you wanted to happen, but then you have to go down the government will because the will wasn't written, I bet it can tear families apart, because
It's the single biggest reason for a breakdown in family relationships, because emotions are sky high, understandably. If you throw money into that as well,
Oh, gosh, yeah.
without, you know, casting aspersions, that's a really volatile mix. And if there has been a conversation where someone said, well, look, son, I want you to have 75% and I'm only giving you 25% because you've had some money for this reason, that reason, and they think that verbal agreement is enough, when they pass away, the law says that children inherit 50-50. So then that... And
that could be a child you haven't spoken to for 20 years. Or...
if you've fallen out with... Sometimes people will say to us, well, I put off phoning because I didn't want to talk about the fact that I'd fallen out with my son or my daughter.
Right.
You'll be amazed. You'll be amazed that blood isn't necessarily thicker than water and relationships aren't perfect.
Yeah.
And so we're not there to judge your relationship. We're there to give you what's right for you. And if you turn around to us and say, it's really sad, I'll be sad for the rest of my days, but I've got no relationship with my son. It's my daughter who's you know, caring for us and looking after us, and we've got a brilliant relationship with her, so we'd like her to receive everything. we can make that happen, but we can only make that happen if you contact us and we draw up a will for you. If you pass away without a will, that son who you may not want to get anything is going to get 50%.
Because that's what happens.
Yeah, that's it. It goes down the government will, and that's what the government will
I can't stress this enough. You either die with your own will and your last gift is yours and your last act on planet Earth is yours, or you pass away without a will and then the government decides what happens to your money.
I think as well, I think we're getting to think, you know, yeah, definitely I do need to write a will because I don't want this government will. I don't want this to happen. Because
Doesn't care about you or your family.
Not going to work, I don't think, for anybody ever. But I think as well, Charlotte, there's a lot of things that we don't realise we can put into a will, isn't there?
It's not just monetary things,
that we hadn't even thought about.
Yeah, there's a lot more a will can do. So I know we've said about monetary aspects being distributed, but specific gifts could be a family heirloom, gift of pet that we've mentioned previously as well. Pets are sometimes more important than children.
Yeah, I bet. Absolutely.
So you can stipulate where your pet's going to go. You can actually stipulate if you want to give a gift, a cash amount with your pet as well to a charity or a friend or family. Even, you can see on the screen there, the ages that your children inherit.
See, I've never thought of that.
Yeah, so legally children inherit at the age of 18, but we've all been 18.
Yes.
If you get a lump sum at 18, you might not actually appreciate or do what your parents would have wanted you to do with that money.
Course,
so you
can
stipulate
stagger ages if you want to.
Stagger ages. Most clients actually go between 21 and 23 when you actually have the conversation.
Right.
But again, you know your children. It's about your choice, again, writing your own will.
And speaking of your children, if you've got younger children, you can stipulate guardians, can't you?
Yeah, and put a guardianship clause
It's
in
not something
there.
you want to think about, but if both parents died, if they haven't written a will and said who they want to look after the children, what would happen?
You're essentially relying on the right person to step forward in that regard because you haven't stipulated it anywhere.
And that could be a family upset, couldn't it?
Exactly, because in most scenarios you might have two sets of grandparents, and if you've not said who you would trust in that scenario, they're both going to step forward, and worst case...
It could even be a grandparent that you don't get along with anymore.
This is the thing, yeah.
The crux of it is it wouldn't be your choice and it wouldn't be guaranteed to be your choice. And I think most parents, you know, if they're put on the spot and said, it's a horrible thing to think about, but yesterday you were both wiped out by a meteorite, where would you want your children to go? Would you want to bring your children up? Most parents would go, well, I'd want them to go with such and such. Well, the only way that can happen is by documenting it in your will, because you can pass on your parental responsibility. As a parent, you'll know if you've ever had to sign anything for school, there's only two classes of people can sign for your child. It's parent or guardian. Not godparent or your best mate. You know, again, and I've heard these stories where, well, I had a pint with my best mate in the pub and I asked him and he said, yeah, I'd be honoured to look after your kids. And that might be fine and that might be the case, but that's not legally binding in any shape or form.
No.
So it all comes back to control, it all comes back to being selfless, but it all comes back to being something incredibly valuable that you're doing for your family. I know I joked earlier about you can't put a price on it, but it's unquantifiable what it can do for your family, because we don't know when we're going to pass away, so we don't know what position our families are going to be in, but what we can guarantee is that our last act on planet Earth was ours and our wishes are going to be carried out.
Your final gift to your family and loved ones.
That list that was on the screen there, the thing to take away from it is you choose your executors, you choose who's going to deal with your estate, you choose what age your children are going to inherit, you choose guardians if you've got minor children, you choose what specific gifts you leave. You choose who's going to inherit and in what shares and when. You know, you can even select, you can even document what funeral preferences you've got. We had one lady say, I want the Wicked Witch's Dead to be played this year. But you're like, yeah, that's funny. She's like, no, seriously. You're like, okay. But again, it's yours.
Yeah.
It's your will. It's not ours. It's your will. At the end of it, you get your document, and that's the beauty of it. Every single document we've written the best part of 250,000 wills. They're all unique because they're for you.
Yeah.
The government will for all of those 250,000 would have been the same. You don't want the government will.
It can't be, can it?
No. If you're sat and your phone's next to you, one of the best things you can do is send WI. I'm going to go W. Send the word will.
What time is it?
I was laughing because last time we did LL will.
I spelt it completely wrong. It's very easy. It's WILL, and you caught it.
But send the word will to 66777, honestly, and that will be one of the best texts you've ever sent in your life.
You've
Because-
secured
yeah.
all the prices. Someone will get back to you later on today to discuss when it will be good to speak to you about your will or your lasting power of attorney. But honestly, you need to do that, and you need to do it now. Tomorrow might be too late, and you know how things just get... Life just gets in the way, doesn't it? All of a sudden, we'll be in spring. Then all of a sudden you'll be booking your summer holiday and you'll be going on the summer holidays. The kids will be off. Then the kids are back to school, so that's chaos, that's uniforms, and then you've got to get all that sorted. Then it's Christmas, and then all of a sudden you're, next February, and you think, oh, we still haven't done that will.
Yeah.
But something might happen between now and next February, and you might be looking down, seeing the whole family fall out. They knew what you wanted, but that government will hasn't made that happen. And you'd be devastated, and it's so easy. It's so quick. Simpler Law, you know, are going to do it right for you. And the lovely thing is, it's a simple discussion. You don't need to know anything at all, apart from, I've got to get that will done.
I've just got to start. I've just
And
got
it's
to
that
take that
first
first
step,
step.
yeah.
You get the ball rolling. And once you've taken that first step, that's the hardest thing to do.
Always is, isn't it?
And then it's all going to fall into place. And the team arrange all the appointments around you, around your convenience. That's what was so great. And nothing's too silly, no questions too daft. You're not expected to know. That's why you're working with experts in the field when it comes to estate
They become
planning.
friends, really, because we did Mum's lasting power of attorney with Simpler Law before they came here to shop on TV. And they became friends, and there wasn't one question that I didn't think I could ask. You know, I didn't feel anything was daft.
Normally
I
you
felt,
would be like, oh,
yeah,
I
I
can't
wouldn't.
ask that. I
I'd be
can't
like,
ask
oh, I can't ask that because that was real. Or I'd ask it, and then I'd just die of embarrassment thinking, oh, and then I'm not concentrating on anything else. They just make it so easy. It's a sit-down conversation, and they know the questions, and they know you've got the answers, and it is just a real simple chat, honestly. Simpler Law, it definitely, for me, is the place to go.
Should we have a look at those offers again? Because the
Especially
offers
tonight.
are so good. First time we've ever done an extra 10% off. Remember, those deals are valid until close of business Friday, but as Hayley and I will say throughout the show, do it right now. Take that first step. Now, if you want to go for the family and estate will, a suggested retail price of £209 comes down to £99 usually on our offer price, but tonight is £89, another 10% off. And then Simpler Law are going to offer you 4 interest-free payments, £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments there with the will itself.
And that really is so affordable, isn't it? When you think about what you spend on coffees or takeaways or clothes, honestly, that is, and you know it's done. You've taken that step, you've secured that price. Now, you might want to go for the lasting power of attorney. We will go into more detail about that again. Should be £349. Our usual price when we do a show as a special, £199, but you have got that extra 10% off. So actually, tonight it is £179, and again, when you split that cost over those 4 payments, £44.75. Our takeaways are always so much more than that.
The value is brilliant, and that is the one thing I think for me initially was what put me off going for a will. I thought it'd be hundreds.
You imagine it
and
to be
hundreds of
really
pounds.
expensive and really complicated, and you're seeing right now it's not expensive, and you're hearing when you deal with Simpler Law, it's not complicated. It's simple, honestly. And then you might. Perhaps you're going to decide, I'm going to do the will. Yes, I've got to get that will done. So you secure the deal. And then actually, after we've talked about lasting power of attorney, you think, oh, I wish I'd done the 2 together. I know the team will be quite happy. As long as you've secured these prices, they will allow you to do exactly that and change it and think, well, actually, yeah, of course you can put the will and lasting power of attorney together because you save £316 there if you do. Our regular price when we do a show is £269. So we always have some really good deals, but you've got that extra 10% off, so £242, which again with your 4 payments goes down to £60.50. That's the first of your 4 payments.
If you've still got the books available, remember the first 250 clients will also receive a free What My Family Should Know book. That book is worth £25, and in there you can record everything you need.
Yeah.
It's all in one place. So if someone does unfortunately pass, the great thing about this book is everything can be recorded in there from your pensions to your utility bills, all your personal information. It could be all your assets like we were talking about, but social media, your funeral wishes can go in there. There's so much home security.
And that's just going to make it so simple for your loved ones that are left behind, because everything's in one place. I know for my mum, she's got secret places everywhere. There'll be things here, there and everywhere. It's all in that one place. Because a lot of people won't know how many pensions their mum and dad have got from previous jobs, so when they were from 18. Lots of you won't know the password to their phones, and that phone or that tablet might have really great photographs that you don't want to lose, or might have vital emails as well, because we have so much via email. So that book is phenomenal. So many people buy that book when they miss out, but you have got the first 250. It is available to you as sort of a complimentary gift. So please do make sure you secure that deal.
Unfortunately, tonight.
No, these ones are complimentary as long as you secure those prices, and it's so easy to do just that, either on the website, either on the phones, or either by texting. So if you're sat there right now thinking, gosh, I don't really want to go on the internet right now, or perhaps you're thinking, I don't want to speak to anybody on the phones, just text Will to 66777. That's one of the most popular ways, the easiest ways. You haven't got to talk to anybody, but what you've done is you've secured that deal, and you know you're on the list there for that book. The team, though, are in the call centre if you want to call.
Yep, right through till 3 a.m. 0333 600 2600 is the call centre number. You remember, you don't need any documents, you don't need anything with you. They are ready to take your call, but you're just about securing the appointment, securing the deals that we're talking about, like we said.
And we know the phones have been really busy tonight. We started very early tonight, so it's always a busy night. They will get to you as soon as they can, or just text Will to the 66777 if you can't get through. Or you can jump on the website. You can go on our website as well if that's what you're used to. So shopontv.co.uk. All you need to do is scroll down, and then you'll find sort of middle way down. There we go, Simpler Law, just in the middle there, and that'll take you through to the 10% discount. Now remember, that is only for this show. It's a special one-off. So pop in your details, your name, your phone number, the email, nice and simple, submit, and then that again will be recorded that you've secured those prices. And the great thing is, our friends that we were talking about earlier, after our last show, got in contact because they haven't done a will, and we were like, you've got to do a will. Like,
did you say it?
We were like, you've got to. It was just, it's
even
bonkers.
I feel like I needed
we're
to
like,
do a will.
why haven't you got a will? So like, you've got to get your will sorted. And they're like, it's too complicated. We're like, get in touch with Simpler Law, because it won't be too complicated. They did that after the last show, but they knew they'd got a busy few weeks. They were going on holiday with us in one of those times. So you're getting in contact with them in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing, is you can sort out a time that's convenient. So if you're sat there now thinking, oh, well, this month's busy, we can sort out a date that's right for them. You're just secure in that deal.
Yeah, you don't need to know anything or do anything apart from make the choice to send a text,
To get started.
make a call. Yeah, we'll handle the rest for you, and it will all be your choice. Time, date that's best for you. We'll work it around you.
The most important time is right now.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sounds
it's
cheesy,
just
but
making that choice.
It's right now, because, you know, full of cliches tonight, but you can't do anything yesterday, you can't do anything tomorrow. And let's be brutally honest, if you're sat watching this show, you might have never seen this show before, you might have seen it for the third or fourth time or whatever. But if you sat watching this show, you probably haven't thought about a will or a lasting power of attorney coming up to this show. But hopefully you've at least learned something new, even if it's just that if you pass away without a will, you're going to get a government will. And hopefully you've realised that is not a good place to be. So because you weren't thinking about wills or lasting power of attorney before this show's on, I guarantee at 3 a.m, if you haven't sent us a text or you haven't phoned the office, when you wake up tomorrow, you won't think about wills or lasting power of attorney again. Life will get in the way and more time will pass, and hopefully nothing will happen. But if it did, this opportunity will have also passed. And that's one of the reasons we did the extra discount tonight as well, is to say, look, if you're watching this show, the planets might have aligned for you.
Yeah.
It's not tempting fate. You know, we all know there's inevitability. But what it might be tempting is saying, look, you've got an opportunity to do something amazing now. If you forgot to get your wife a Valentine's gift, really, what a great Valentine. I'm being facetious, but again, in all seriousness, it's such a selfless, important thing. But we do these shows to try and reach as many people as we can to say, look, please be aware that if you don't make your own will, the government are going to give you one. that isn't a position you want to be.
So the
That's a
government
fact.
is then in control of what happens to what you've worked
Your
so
last
hard
act,
for.
for me, it's about control, because your last act then on planet Earth isn't yours.
No.
It's a set of rules that was created in 1925 that doesn't care about you, your wife, your partner, your family, your friends. It just doesn't care about you because it can't.
Yeah.
That one set of rules can't fit everybody, and without it there'd be anarchy, so there has to be a default position. But that's why we have what's called testamentary freedom in the UK, and that means you can write your own will. Otherwise, it'd be government-led that everyone has to die intestate.
Yeah.
Well, you don't. But you have to make your own will so you don't get the government
It's like
one.
opting out, isn't it?
It's exactly that.
Yeah.
It's exactly that.
I think lots of people presume, don't they? And we all presume. We presumed.
Opt out of the government will. I like that. Sorry. I'm going to write that one down.
We presumed that we'd been together for, 34 years. So obviously, we're the couple there at the bottom there, but we're not, because we're not married. So though after 34 years, surely if I died, it's Sean's. If Sean died, it's mine. The truth is that isn't what the government will says.
Yeah, so if we didn't have a will and one of us passed away, what would happen straight away?
Well, Sean, forgive me, you passed away yesterday. You haven't got a will. So the first question, the rules of intestate, so you've died intestate, the first question will say, are you married in a civil partnership?
No.
And the answer would be no. So Hayley, you're getting nothing.
So I'm
So
gone.
that's it.
That's
straight
it.
Away.
The next question will be then, do you have children? And the answer to that would then determine, do you have parents? The answer to that, and then it goes down to brothers and sisters, uncles and aunties, because it follows your bloodline. But when you're unmarried, there's no provision whatsoever, which in some instances can mean that the unmarried partner then has to take a legal route to bring a claim against their partner's estate.
Oh,
So-
don't.
So then
Then that's
And if you-
other
fallout.
professionals are then
Yeah.
making quite a bit of money to
And
it's
if it goes down that natural route and you haven't got children, you haven't got parents, you don't get on with your family, it still goes to your family, doesn't it?
yeah, that's the whole point of this is, without making your own will, you're not in control of what happens. And I think that is what quite a lot of people struggle to fully understand when
and
they
it's
hear
not
all
even
these.
easy if you're married. It's not as simple as that it all goes to one or the other.
No, depending on how you own your estate, but you're only guaranteed the first £322,000 of each other's estate as well, which might sound like a lot of money, but if you've got a house and you've got some savings and stuff like that, so even spouses aren't guaranteed to inherit off each other. But even if they did, it's then what's the situation of the survivor then? And is it just their children, or are the stepchildren to consider that now aren't considered? The only way that you can determine what you've worked hard for goes to where you want it to go is to exercise your testamentary freedom and say, I'm going to make a will.
Right.
I'm using Sean's line. I'm going to opt out of the government
Yeah,
will.
absolutely.
I'm definitely having that one, Sean. I like
It is good.
I'm having that one. All these shows we've done together, and that's the first time you pulled that one out.
We got there eventually.
But like they changed the rules on organ donation in the last few years. So now we're all opted in. In
That's
other
right,
words,
yes.
Oh, right.
in other words, it's assumed that you're happy for your organs to be used unless you
opt out.
specifically go on. And this is a very similar sort of situation. If you don't make your own will, you're accepting the government will. Now, for a lot of people who haven't seen this show, and this is quite understandable, they won't know that.
No.
Because how many people know that the rules of intestacy exist? Because we don't go
No,
on a search engine and
exactly.
type what happens when I die. If you're watching this show now, I'm afraid that excuse is gone, because we've told you, and that's why we want you to make a will. Of course we want you as a client, that's why we're doing this show, but more than that, we don't want you to die intestate. And it's not our estate and it's not our family, but we know that for not a lot of money and not a lot of time, you can do something amazing for your family. That's why we're still here at the best part of 3 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, of course we want you as a client, but more than that, we want you to be aware of what the alternative to not having a will is, and it's not good.
No.
Wills are such a weird
It's
thing
not
to
what
say.
you would
Wills,
want.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
We've never written a will that's in line with the rules of
And you
intestacy.
must see so many sad stories and terrible situations just because a proper will hasn't been
It's going to
written.
sound really crass. There are times, and you've said this as well, there are times where you kind of almost want to get the entire UK and just put them in our estate administration department just
Yeah.
for an hour, so they can see
the
see a
stories.
situation unfolding with someone that passed away with a will, and like I say, it doesn't
Yes.
diminish the bereavement, but it's like, all right, they planned, this is what they wanted to happen, right, that's happening. Someone that passed away without a will, and depending on the makeup of their estate and depending on the makeup of their family, that varies in degrees of not being what they would have wanted, and in some cases is literally catastrophic.
Yeah, so
It rips families apart, and it's all avoidable. It's all avoidable by sending the word will to 66777 and speaking to someone like Charlotte.
And
By the way, you can't all speak to Charlotte.
You would be so lucky.
Very busy.
we do have more consultants than just Charlotte.
And they've all a great team, so often with the
Yeah.
5-star reviews. It's actually, rather than saying Simpler Law was fantastic, it is. Charlotte was fantastic. Gemma was fantastic.
Yeah.
You become friends, really.
We really pride ourselves on that and having those named Trustpilots because
Yeah.
it is a really personal service. We want to make sure that our clients are happy with the service we're giving them and that they are happy with the document they've got at the end of it. So when we do see that they're naming the Trustpilots, it's amazing because you do spend time getting to know each other and, we take to that dark place for a moment or two, but a lot of clients do have fun.
Yeah.
And you get to the end of the consultation and they'll go, oh, what a relief. That's a real weight lifted that you might not even know you had in the first place.
That's it.
So
And once you start working with a client, they work with the same people.
yes,
all the way
so you'll always go back through to your same consultant. So they'll always know your personal circumstance and be able to answer any questions you've got from start to finish. So
We go at your speed as well.
Yeah.
So
That's what I loved, is there was no rush.
Your
I
pace,
never felt that any question was too daft. I'm good at daft questions, but never once did I think, I can't ask that question. I felt I could ask anything.
Yeah, you've
and then
got to
even
understand
after
it.
we'd spoken, emailed, oh God, I forgot to ask that. And, never felt like I was a problem at all. It was lovely.
No, never. We want to make sure that you're happy and you fully understand the advice we've given you.
Yeah.
And the advice that we give you is entirely, again, your choice, whether you take that or not. It's just all about this being your choice and your document.
And I think there's so much in a will that we don't realise without talking to somebody like you that can be put into a will. I think we instantly think money, but there's so much more, isn't
I think
there?
everyone assumes that because it's what you hear, really, isn't it? More than anything, it's where you want
a
everything
will's
to go.
associate. We see it in movies, don't we?
Yeah.
Will's like he left his entire estate to someone expected,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, it's personal and it's private, but it can be. It's different things for different people. Again, it's what does it mean to you? Sometimes we'll ask a client, do you want to leave any specific gifts? Nah. Other times, do you want to leave any specific gifts? And they'll go, right, I've got a list.
Yeah.
Bless, yeah.
Already.
Because again, it's personal, but
Yeah.
even those examples, the rules of intestacy don't cater for you. They're just a default position. That's the problem with the government will. So honestly, the hardest thing about this whole process, it's the cheesy thing of the hardest thing about a journey is the first step. The hardest
so
thing about
true.
this isn't speaking to Charlotte or one of her colleagues. The hardest thing is sending us the text or picking up the phone. And that's not really that difficult to do. And it's risk-free. So if you are still watching this, you've not done it, please do it because you
Do it
won't
right now,
regret.
yeah.
You won't regret doing
There's no
it.
reason not to do
No.
it.
Now, before we get to the end of the show, we've got to remind you of lasting powers of attorney as well. So we're going to give you a quick reminder of that. And the offers, remember, we'll remind those before the end of the show as well. Lasting power of attorney for anyone who's maybe just started watching, Charlotte, is something that they might have heard of, but they might not know what it means.
Yeah, so will is inevitable. We know we're always going to need to use a will. But power of attorney, these are documents where you nominate who you trust to make your decisions for you if you've lost your capacity to do so for yourself. So it could be ill health, it could be a freak accident where you no longer have that ability to do that for yourself. Power of attorney means you can nominate your family, your friends, whoever it would be, to step into your shoes and become you and make those decisions for you.
And there are two different types, aren't there? So property, financial, first of all.
First one is property and financial. So essentially, as it states, anything from a financial point of view. So whoever you've nominated, they can access your bank accounts, they can pay your bills, manage any investments you've got,
Yeah,
manage
'cause
any
of course
property.
that's got to be done, hasn't it?
It's got to keep
Yeah,
going.
yeah.
You can't do
Money
that
makes the
even
world
as a
go
family
round.
member or as a daughter or as a son. It's completely out of your hands. Isn't it?
Institutions
Yeah.
are sympathetic for as long as they're allowed to be sympathetic, which
Yeah.
isn't very long.
Yeah.
And then money makes the world go round. Things don't stop because you do, unfortunately. And that, again, is another misconception. Or, it's like, well, my partner's ill and I can't access their account.
Those
Like I said,
bills.
there's an element of sympathy, but then there's also a reality that they go, it's awful, but they go, not really our problem. You
Yeah, it
still
doesn't
need
stop.
to deal with this. And my experience, I think yours is the same. Sometimes when you're speaking to a couple, there's often someone who takes on more responsibility for managing the finances than the other.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if it's that person that's incapacitated, Sean's not making any gestures towards you, Hayley. But if it's that person that's incapacitated, that can make it even more difficult. Because not
Yes.
only is the other person now having to step into their shoes, they find they haven't got the authority to do that. So inadvertently, you've left a really big problem for your partner or your spouse, you know, and again, it's all avoidable.
Yeah,
So that's why we want to talk
about
about that. So whilst we talk about wills because there's inevitability, lasting power of attorney fits alongside that as far as estate plan is concerned, because it's about you, it's about your family, it's about what you've got. And if you lose capacity, then you can't manage it. We all wake up in the morning, throw the quilt back and just get on with our day and don't really think about what we're doing, and quite rightly.
Yeah.
But if that morning came where you couldn't throw the quilt cover back, all those things that you're used to doing that might seem really simple suddenly become very important and actually impossible, because the only person that could do them was you.
Yeah.
And if you've not donated your power to somebody, there's no one else can step into your shoes. So an awful situation compounds and gets worse because the people around you that love you, instead of trying to care for you, are then sort of fighting the legal system, if you like, to try and figure out how to help
So
you.
if we haven't got a lasting power of attorney, we do have to go down a legal route to try and look after them, financials, the money, and
Well, there's two
pay
types,
the bills.
isn't there?
Yeah.
So we've talked about financial, but then there's a health lasting power of attorney, isn't
A health document as well, yeah. This is more of a personal, emotional side. So this one, again, whoever you nominate, can be the same or different, can essentially become you and decide where you live in, your medication.
I think this is just as important as the financial.
Yeah, just important, if not more so in some ways, because only your loved ones are going to know that that's what you know, what you wear, even what you eat, where you want to live. They can make all of those decisions for you. And a big thing with power of attorneys, I think a lot of people associate these with the elderly, because you tend to see when you get older, you have more health problems. But this could be of any age. You never know what's going to happen. You have to do these now while you've got capacity, because once it's too late, you can't put these documents in place at that point.
I think that's a really good point, because we thought, you know, for mum, lasting power of attorney because she's in her 80s, but actually, you know, a good friend of mine had an accident in her 40s, and you just don't know what's around the corner. And if you haven't passed on sort of someone to stand into your shoes if you were too poorly to look after yourself or look after your financial affairs, again, it's completely out of your hands. And you have to go, again, down a legal route that can be really expensive and take such a long time.
Yeah, you've got to be given the authority, haven't you, to access someone's assets effectively, whether that's property, whether that's bank accounts, whatever. You know, you can't go into someone's bank today while someone's got capacity and say, can I access their account? The answer would be no. So when they've lost capacity, they're even more protected. So if they haven't made a lasting power of attorney, the only route you've got is to approach something called the Court of Protection. You have to apply for what's called a deputyship order. Now, the first thing to say about that is, if you're the person that's lost capacity, you don't know that the person you would have chosen for yourself is the one that's going to go to the court.
Right.
In really dark situations, no one goes to the court and things get really messy. So again, this is quite a selfless thing, but it's also selfish, because you're called a donor when you make a lasting power of attorney, because you donate your power to a person or people that you choose, that you trust, who, for all intents and purposes, become you in the eyes of all the institutions you deal with. But if you haven't got that, someone has to go to the Court of Protection. So let's use you and your mum, Hayley. You don't need to, because your mum's got lasting powers of attorney now, but you would turn up at the Court of Protection. You would then pay over £1,300 in fees if you did it yourself.
And you'd have to pay that because you can't get...
Because you haven't got access to your mum's account. You can recoup some of this, but you've still got to find that initial outlay. And that's if you do it yourself. Professional fees add thousands to that again, because most people have to turn for professional help because they're dealing with
complicated.
the court process. It's not
process.
easy, and it's like everything else. You don't do it every day, so it's not familiar to you. So there's all those fees, all that hardship. But worse for me, the money's bad enough. The cost of it is bad enough. It's the length of time it's taken for the order to be granted, and it's taken anywhere up to a year. It used to be longer than that. It's coming down a little bit, but a year. So there's all that money. Yeah, and sadly, people are passing away during that. When, if you make a lasting power of attorney, it has to be registered with a body called the Office of Public Guardian, but it gets registered and your attorneys can then act for you. And there's two things happening there. It's registered, so they're good to go, for want of a better description, but you also know for a fact it's the people you chose, because it's your lasting power of attorney. So again, for me, it's all about control. I call them a what-if document.
Yeah.
It's something you want to have, but then hope that your family never need to use them.
It's not an insurance policy, but
You're exactly right.
in a way.
Yeah, it can be viewed in a similar sort of way. And I always relate it to things like when I'm talking to people and you're sort of talking about what the money does go on. I mean, the cost of living crisis and all this kind of stuff, everything just seems to be getting more expensive. And you sort of start going through your direct debits and what can we cut back on. I was amazed at how much we pay to watch television.
Yeah.
All
the different channels.
subscriptions,
And
yeah.
I'm
You
like,
don't realise sometimes, do you?
Don't, yeah.
And it keeps ticking up and you don't notice. Like, hang on a minute.
Just going
But
to
then-
put that up a little bit.
But then
Isma.
I found something I'm like, what's this £3.99? Ah, we're insuring an appliance that blew up 10 years ago. We've never cancelled. But we will insure things like boilers. That's, you know, that's
Yeah.
understandable. We'll insure our car. That's understandable. We'll insure the contents of our home. We'll insure our phones. We'll insure our tablets. We'll definitely insure our pets. I got
Yeah.
absolutely blown away at the cost of pet insurance. And yet we forget to look after ourselves.
Yeah.
And, you know, if life threw you that curveball, and this comes back to regret again, your family you would never regret having a lasting power of attorney. Your family definitely wouldn't if you were unlucky enough that life threw you that curveball. But your family may regret. The worst phone calls we get are, did my father or did my mother do a lasting power of attorney? Or can you do a lasting power of attorney now they've been diagnosed with dementia, for example? And if the answer to that question is no, that's why you end up, unfortunately, with the court protection. And that's why the court is so busy, because life is throwing that curveball and people haven't planned for it.
Many people.
It's always going to happen to someone else.
I think often you don't hear about lasting power of attorney unless you've been in that or heard of someone that's been in that situation, and you don't realise it's there. And I think it's so important. I think both are just as important as each other. And price-wise, when you see if you needed to go through the courts, the prices you've got tonight, remember you've got an extra 10% off those prices this evening, this morning, and for this show only. So whatever option you're going for, whether you're going for the will, whether you're now thinking, oh gosh, that lasting power of attorney, well, you've got the option of doing that individually, but you can put the two together. But what you need to do is just secure these prices, because I think we think it's going to be really expensive. And
That's
it's
what we thought.
so not.
And then we thought it was going to be really complicated. Also, it's not complicated. The great thing with the team at Simpler Law is they literally talk you
It's a
through
sit
everything
down
you
and a
need to know.
chat and a
It's
conversation.
like this.
It's amazing.
We know
Yeah.
that's a one-off offer for the lasting power of attorney at £179. That's ridiculous value. You consider that the application fee to the court protection is £408.
Just for the application.
Yeah, just for the application. So, you know, if life threw you that curveball, are you really going to look back and regret putting a
No.
lasting power of attorney in
Definitely not.
place? Like I say, it'd be nice if you lived for decades
Yeah,
and
and
you
it
never
just-
needed to
yeah,
use it.
it's sat
But the
there.
what if?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You just don't know what's around the corner.
It's like, how long have you insured your boiler for? Did you ever have to actually use it?
Yeah.
That's the thing. Yeah.
So we pay for lots of things, as I said, that we may or may not use and we forget about ourselves. It's such a valuable document.
And when you split the cost with those 4 payments as well, it just makes it so affordable. And when you look at that cost and think what you do spend on coffee, takeaways, or a dress, or a
Yeah.
pair of trousers.
My wife went away on a hen do, so I did what any good father and husband would do, and basically lived on takeaway with the boys, which is not something. Boys, do you fancy pizza tonight? I'm like, pizza? Like, I won't mention the company. I'm like, oh yeah, we'll get a couple of mini pizza. I'm like,
How much?
it was more than the monthly payment for a lasting power of attorney. but yeah, so we spend money on things that we want to spend money on. This is something that I would argue from the heart that we need, but then hope that we don't have.
Yeah.
And hopefully by doing these shows, and they are exclusive offers through Shop on TV, we've removed the affordability angle as much as we can. We're genuinely trying to make this as inexpensive and as accessible as we can for that reason.
And even more so tonight, because you have got that extra 10% off, but you do need to secure those deals. That 10% is only for this show, and they have agreed that it can be up until Friday close of business, but you know if you don't do it today, you'll forget it'll be Sunday, and then you've missed out on that extra 10% off, or you've missed out on the deals completely. And don't forget to be, you know, to secure those deals, you could be one of those first 250 people to get that book as well.
It's really important that you take advantage right now and get in touch. It's simple and straightforward to get in touch as well. Everything's coming with 4 interest-free payments. So if you want to spread the cost, whether it's the will itself, reduced down to £89, a suggested retail price of £209, down to £89, down to £22.25 on your first of 4 interest-free payments. If you've thought about writing a will, Today could be that first step.
And don't forget, if you haven't written one, there is one there waiting for you, and it's the government will, and it won't be what you want to happen. Hand on heart, it'll be the last thing you want to happen. Lasting power of attorney that we've just gone into detail about should be £349. With our extra 10% off our regular sort of sale price that we have for Shop on TV, goes down to £179, and again, you can split that to £44.75. That's the first of 4 payments. And like I say, we've around our way, one takeaway is that. So that's, you know,
that's just for me and you.
Yeah, absolutely crazy.
Now, the biggest saving of all is if you go for a will and lasting power of attorney. Suggested retail of 558 is down to 269 on our offer price normally, but with that extra 10% off for this show only, comes down to £242 or £60 and 50 pence on your first of 4 interest-free payments. As Hayley always says, remember, if you do change your mind and you want to go for the will and the lasting power of attorney and you've only registered for the will, you don't have to worry, the team will secure those offers for you.
Yeah, what you're doing tonight is securing the deals. So if you think, well, actually, now I've heard about lasting power of attorney, I wish I'd mentioned that, they'll happily put the two together. Don't forget as well, really easy to get in contact, but do it right now before you go to bed. And it's whatever you would rather do. Would you rather go onto the website right now? You can do exactly that, simplerlaw.co.uk/shop on TV. Would you like to speak to someone? You can. The team are there until 3 o'clock. So
quick.
jump on the phone right now, 0333 600 2600. I know the phones have been busy tonight. One of the simplest ways is to text.
It is. Texting is the easiest way and most straightforward. If you've got your phone there, you just text the word WILL, W-I-L-L, to 66777. And what will happen is the team will give you a call back after 11 o'clock this morning or tomorrow, and you will have secured those deals, and hopefully you'll still get that book that we talked about.
Yeah, the first 250 people getting that book. I know all the books did go last show, but remember that extra 10% is a complete one-off special. So do it now. Sometimes it's that first step that is just so difficult, isn't it? And once you've done it, it's that peace of mind. I've had some drawers in my dressing room that none of them open. I can't get my pants out, I can't get my socks out. It drives me mad. Everyone's like,
TMI.
why don't I just rip these drawers out and sort it? I did it. I ripped my drawers out the other day, took them down the tip, and I am so relieved.
You made that first
I am in absolute heaven now. I've got one set of drawers that they do actually pull out. I can get everything out of them. I don't have to swear
Good
at them.
stories tonight, Hayley.
Yeah, but sometimes, you know, I've been meaning to do that for about a year and a half. And now it's done. I think sometimes we just put things off and we should just do them because actually we're better off. We're in a better place when we've done it.
And that relief. So do get in touch. Take that first step. Get that ball rolling, and you could have your will in place in the next few weeks. And it's at your pace, remember.
Yeah.
As always, pleasure to have you both with us in the studio.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Ian, Charlotte. I hope to see you very, very soon. But this is the first time and the last time we've ever done that extra 10% off. So do take advantage of that.
Yeah, before you
extra
go to bed,
discount.
text that word WILL to 66777 or go onto our website and you can find all the details as well. Just scroll down to about the middle of the page and you'll see Simpler Law there as well. But please do it right now because you'll be so relieved that it's all sorted and finalised.
You certainly will. We will see you tomorrow, but make sure you get in touch and get the deal.
Good night.